Well, we have our first 2025 whining list, and the Whiners Club is out. By the way, Big Sills here. Appreciate you guys coming aboard. Please hit that like button, and all super chats go to the top. I'm in kind of a fiery mood. You know, here at the Big Sill Studios, we got like construction going on around us, so I'm on a warpath right now. I'm hanging out my shower going, what the fuck are you doing? Holy shit, 7:30 in the morning. Let's go. The hell you doing here? If it's not the fucking power, it's the goddamn guys out front of the house here banging away. Hey, bang, bang, bang. So I'm on the warpath today. Not good. I'm hungry and I'm pissed. How you doing? Speaking of whiners, Green Bay Packers, they are your first 2025 bitch list. All right? They're crying about the tush push. Let me actually, I got this from Rich McKay, who's been on the program. He is the chairman of the NFL Competition Committee. And so he's the first one up here. And officially, right out of the gate, you got the Green Bay Packers, who are the absolute bitch whiners of 2025. It's official. The Packers have now submitted this. The Green Bay Packers want to amend Rule 12, Section 1, to prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who has lined up directly behind the snapper and received the snap immediately after the snap. That's funny. I see my daughter do that shit every weekend. It's a rugby play. You don't really think this essence of the game came from rugby unless you live under a rock. Pro football, the birth of football is rugby. And just because you can't stop a play, you're going to ban that play? I'll say this to you. Now, I do agree with the league on this. If you want to amend it, not pushing somebody from behind and advancing the football, that's the only way you're going to stop that play. Get this. I watch my kid play rugby every freaking weekend. And that play is almost impossible to stop. Even in her game, which that game is needed, that play. You're not going to stop that play. And the Eagles, what makes it so difficult is that they have the number one rushing offense in pro football, right, with Saquon Barkley. And then when you start every sequence or every series, 1st and 9, think about that. The Philadelphia Eagles start every series 1st and 9 because that 1 yard, that's a given. 92% of the time, the Philadelphia Eagles, they execute the tush push. They execute it to perfection just about. I'm going to say this. That might be the only play I've ever seen in pro football that has such a success rate of that. I have never seen another play in pro football that has that type of success. And because one team dominates at it, they want to stop that. Well, do this. Go recruit and draft better O-linemen. Get a better running back. The Eagles have been successful no matter if it's Miles Sanders, if it's been DeAndre Swift, if it's been Carson Wentz, if it's Jalen Hurts, or if it's Saquon Barkley. That football team has mastered that. And now, get this, you put A.J. Dillon back there and you put Saquon Barkley, I bet you they have a higher success rate this year than any of the last 5 years. Hey, man, stop bitching and whining about it. Come up with a way to stop it. And get this, you know how you stop it? Beat them on 1st and 2nd down. Keep them at a 4th and 1. Be a better defense. You know what they take advantage of? The shitty defenses that are in pro football today. That's what they're taking advantage on. You see what Barb says? Who cares? Barb, they're trying to change the fucking rule today at the NFL competition, and I think they're going to change the rule. I think the Eagles are going to get penalized today. That's who cares. because the league doesn't like to have one team have one unfair advantage versus the other 31 teams. That's what it is, Barb. They don't want one team having an advantage, so they'll take that away. You know how they're going to do it? They're not going to take the play away. You're not going to be able to push the player with another player behind Jalen Hurts any longer. That's why they care, Barb. So the Green Bay Packers have officially become number one on my bitch list. Hey, man, you can't stop it because you got your face pushed in the playoffs. I'd like to play. By the way, today, 3-time Super Bowl defensive coordinator, champion, our friend Dave Wanstadt's going to join us at 5:30. We're also going to get Jason Cole on because we got Jimmy Johnson tomorrow. 4:30, we will have Jason Cole, and Xander will be there with us at 3:30. So make sure you jump aboard these next couple days. Please hit that like button. All super chats go to the top. It won't matter. The Eagles will still do it because they got a great – you know what's crazy? Everyone thought, and I did too, I said, well, you know, Jason Kelce's got to be the centerpiece of this whole thing. It's not the centerpiece. It's Jason Kelce. I think it's Landon Dickerson. I think really it's Dickerson. Dickerson and Hurts. But then again, Carson Wentz had success at this thing. All right. We appreciate you guys so much. Please hit that like button. All right. I mean, hey, we went back and listened to Zach Ertz a little bit and what he said yesterday. So I want to go back and listen to that a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about the offense here in a second as they get ready for OTA, spring training, mini camp, then obviously as they get ready for training camp. My top 10 NFC teams, again, like I said, Green Bay bitching and crying, and also a little bit about, again, edge and cornerback as we get ready for free agency, even more so after the first 2 weeks, and what they're going to do leading up to the draft. Epic from today, Sills. Packers go into the number 2 on my bitch list. Micah Parsons is number 1 till he retires. JD3. Micah Parsons, does that guy resembles a little bit of what Jerry Jones is all about in the culture that's in Dallas. You know what that is? I care more about being a TV star than I do about being a football star. You see that star up there on that helmet? I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden when you put that helmet on, you think you're Robert De Niro or something and not a football player. That's the difference between Philadelphia and Dallas. You want to become a TV fucking star instead of a football star, and that's why Dallas hasn't done shit in 29 years. I showed that list to you guys yesterday. I mean, people like Cincinnati, Arizona have had more success over the last 30 years than the Dallas Cowboys. Holy shit. And that's the richest franchise. You see what the Celtics just went for? $6.1 billion. If you put the Dallas Cowboys up for sale right now, they'd probably go for $15 billion. It's the number 1 franchise in the world. Number 1 franchise in the world, and they suck at what they need to do. Win. You know what a winning season is for Dallas? 12-5. You know what a winning season is in Philly? A Super Bowl. Lies the difference. That gives you the complete difference in philosophy and in what they need to do when it comes to trying to win football games and championships. The Dallas Cowboys just want to put a show on. The Eagles want to win the Super Bowl. I think the Rams want to win a Super Bowl. I think Kansas City wants. Isn't it funny? All the hard blue-collar cities that are in this country all strive to be champions, except people like New York and Dallas. You know what they're talking about in New York right now? If Russell Wilson or Joe Flacco will go to New York and quarterback for the Giants, where are the Giants going with those two nobodies now? Those two guys are on the back nine, playing the last 2 holes, and they're 60. They're leading you nowhere. That is the quintessential example of where the New York Giants are. Russell Wilson and Joe Flacco. That's who they are right now. Joe Flacco and Russell Wilson. Good luck to you, man. You know what? It's like what Xander says about the Dallas Cowboys. It's almost uncool now to goof on the Giants because the Giants suck so bad. I grew up in that franchise with George Young and all them guys, Wellington Mara. Was one of the top franchises in all of pro football. You look at it now, it's a joke. Rutgers is better to root for than the New York Giants. I'd rather root for Rutgers. Seriously. I'd rather root for Rutgers and Greg Schiano than the New York Giants if you're in that region. All the teams that used to be the top teams, the Patriots and the Giants, you got to be kidding me. Combined, they suck. Hit the like button. Appreciate you guys coming aboard here. All right, let's start out with this. There's no excuses. This coming year, I want to make something. Here, let's do this. Give me a grade on what you thought the offense was last year. And if you agree with me, the offense this year is going to have to be better than it was a year ago. Okay? At least on March 20th, we're going to say that the Eagle offense has to be better. Okay? And I want to give you guys, I want to show you guys something here. See a guy here with a C+, okay? A C+ for the offense, and you won the Super Bowl. A B-, okay? Give me a couple more grades here. B-. Look at how much more room you have to grow and how much more dominant you could be on that side of the football. Okay? I'd say it's a C+ because of the tremendous running attack that you had. I don't think it's B. You can't give your offense a B when your passing game is the third worst in the league. But again, put this in context. Seals, we won a Super Bowl with what we did a year ago. Yeah, well, I think you have to evolve this year because your defensive side of the football has taken such a massive hit in personnel. And you know what? Over the last couple of days, people have been trying to convince themselves that you have the heir apparent to what you need to have to go out and be a top-flight defense. I don't believe that. I don't believe you have the heir apparent to go out there and replace these guys as of yet. Remember something. I'm a resume guy. Remember I told you that? I'm a resume guy. And for me, those guys have to go out and prove who they are and what they can do and how they're going to fit in to that offensive side of the football, okay? I think we're in the right direction. Well, I'm talking more about the offense. You're right direction. You may lose Dallas Goedert, and you lost a guy who's replaceable in the right. I think Mekhi Becton's replaceable because you have replaced him over the last 3 years. You've replaced that position over the last 3 years. Mr. International says, I'm talking defense. Hang on here. Well, the defense ain't ready yet. Detroit has an A+ offense and got bounced early. As long as we're a little better than last year, we'll be fine. But you don't have the same defense. You're going under the impression, Gabe, that you're going to put up the same performance on defense and put up a championship performance on defense with the minuses that you have in personnel, and you think you're going to roll that back out there again. I don't believe that. As a collective, hey, by the way, I think some of these guys are going to step in and do a good job. I don't believe all five are. I think you need a corner, and I think you need an edge rusher, and I don't think you have them on your roster right now. I think you also have to have a defensive tackle. And I don't think you have that guy on the roster. What about Morojomo? Hey, I think he's a good-looking player. I don't know if he could go 800 snaps, 750 snaps. I don't know if he could give you the versatility that Milton Williams gave you. So, again, we go back over to the offense. The offense doesn't have a lot of missing parts. This comes down to Jalen Hurts. That offense is going to have to be better than it was a year ago. It's going to have to be better because more is going to be asked of it. Last year, the defense carried that offense. Would we not say this? You think that offense under or overachieved last year? The Eagles' offense. I think it underachieved. I think that offense underachieved because it wasn't as balanced as I thought it would be. Okay? But get this, again, this is not a bad take or a bad convo. You know why? You underachieved and won the Super Bowl. That's right, Sue. Okay, to the contact. Get this. You won the Super Bowl and underachieved. That's freaking amazing. Here's why you underachieved. All your money that you spend on all your personnel is in the specialty guys, the wide receivers and the quarterback. They all underachieved a year ago. You know why? Because you had such a dominant running attack. They didn't think that they needed the passing game. If you want to land on that pod, fine. Can you imagine an NFL team today paying the amount of money that you pay? Get this. Here's the difference between you and Cincinnati. Cincinnati has to rely on the passing game to win games. Cincinnati can't run the ball like you. Okay? Cincinnati has to throw the ball. You don't. And yet you pay them. So people are going like this. The Bengals overpaid T. Higgins and Jamar Chase to the tune of $100 million more than what the Eagles paid. Well, guess what? That's their only option. They can't run the ball like Philly. Why are you paying $100 million in wide receivers when you don't throw the ball? My point is you've got to improve that side until your defense gets matured. Okay? Billy Don. Disagree. It was more the O-line and Barkley that carried the offense. Okay. Wasn't the passing game. Why are you paying those? Why are you paying A.J. Brown and Devontae then if you're not using them? My point is you're going to have to rely on these guys. It's not an option. It was never an option, Joe. They did it all year long. There was very few football games this year that they didn't have that defense carry them. It was the defense and the running attack. How about this? Do you think you can win the Super Bowl? Here, let's ask this question. Do you think you can win the Super Bowl the same way you won it in 2024? I don't, because I don't think you have the personnel on defense. Do you think you can win the Super Bowl the same way with the team you have right now? By the way, you're not getting any better. Who are you going to add? A draft pick? Okay. I don't think a rookie getting younger, adding to the roster and adding to the starting lineup is going to make you better. To be determined, I don't think you can win the Super Bowl with the roster you have right now playing the same style. Is that fair? Get this. M. Reyes is such a fucking idiot. He thinks because they have, by the way, we'll get Dave Wannstedt on 5:30. Guy won 3 Super Bowls instead of this idiot. Okay? I mean, you have half your roster changed. And you think you have the personnel on that side of the ball. This guy's a fucking idiot. Changed the entire defensive football team. Hey, I think Nolan can do this. Hey, I think Keeley can do this. Hey, I think this guy can do this. Hey, I think Trotter can step in. Great. We'll find out, won't we? There's only one sure thing on that side of the football on defense. You know what it is? It's Jalen Carter. The rest of them, we'll see what happens. Jalen Carter is the only guy on defense that's not a question mark. Will Q have a good second year? Most rookies who have really good rookie years have a step-back season the next year. Will Cooper continue to evolve? What are they going to do with him? Put him outside? Get this. Bond had an elite year. He hasn't had it. Zach Bond has not had an elite career. Are you high? That's not a sure thing. Are you sure he's going to have another great year? You know what you're doing? You're projecting, because he's never. How in the world? That's not reality. You know what reality is? Lane Johnson. That's reality. Every year, that guy's put together phenomenal seasons. Every year. Every year, that guy's gotten better. That guy has been the best player in the league, and he's done it over a period of time. That's the guy you lean on. That's a for sure thing. Same with Mulata. Get this. There's nothing wrong with this take. Nothing. I think Coop is legit. I do too. Let's see him do it again. Absolutely. Okay? Again, guys need to be elite and have multiple years of consistent success for Sills to say a guy isn't a question mark. And that's fair, but I don't expect him to see it any other way. Eagle Nest, that's correct. That's how I see a football player in today's NFL. You can have one great year. How many? Here. Eagle Nest, to this point here, was it Carson Wentz exactly this definition? Eagle Nest, tell me, was it Carson Wentz this? Carson Wentz started out his NFL career in Philadelphia with his hair on fire. 4,000 passing yards to nobody receivers, had 36 touchdown passes. He started out like a ball of fire. What happened? What happened to Carson Wentz? And you paid him. And you gave him $33 million. What happened to Wentz? Wentz was not great for 13 games. Wentz was great for 5 years. What happened to Carson Wentz? You paid him. You gave him the richest contract in NFL history. What happened to him? What happened? Can you tell me what happened to Carson Wentz? Wentz got paid, had a great 5 years. What happened to Carson? Fell off the planet, didn't he? And you paid him. You think that's just isolated to him? How many football players have you seen have great few years? Look at Saquon Barkley. He had 5 mediocre years in New York. 5 mediocre years. Comes to Philly, changes his entire way people see him. 1 year of football changed the way people look at him. The New York Giants, not that they're smart, but people look at Saquon Barkley 1,000% differently today than they did the 5 years that he was in New York. Carson Wentz was great for 5 years. What happened to him? Isn't that funny? I seemingly forget that. I thought that was the second coming of Brett Favre. And he fell off the planet. Lack of talent around him, infighting, coordinators leaving. All of that shit played a factor. His weakness mentally. All of that. Get this, again, I'm not going back and revisiting history. What I'm trying to do is make a point to you. You guys are sitting here trying to tell me about young players and guys who've done it only 1 year. And I'm trying to make a point to you. 1 year doesn't make a career, and that doesn't solidify you as somebody you're going to build your football team around. And yet people don't want to hear that. I don't know. Hey, Quinyon Mitchell proved to me he could play in this league. Quinyon Mitchell hasn't proved to me that he could be a consistent ball player every year. Here's Carson Wentz here. His first 5 years, 3,700 yards his rookie season. That's not bad. 3,296, had 33 touchdowns his second year. Had $3,000 his third year, 21. His fourth year, he had 27 touchdowns and 7 picks. His first 5 years, Not only did he help you win a Super Bowl, but his career was going in a great trajectory. What happened to him? All of you have flip-flopped on him. Every one of you. What happened? Wasn't a take that people said. What happened to him? He fell off. He didn't evolve. James, you get it? Well, that's where Q and Cooper DeJean are. Lane Johnson, Mulata, Dickerson, those are guys that you're going to be able to look at week in and week out, year in and year out, and go like this. Those are people I'm going to build my franchise around. Jalen Carter now got better from a year ago, who had a pretty good rookie year, even though he fell off the map the last 8 games of the year. He got better, was in better shape, and became a force. Dude, you see this right here? Your eyeball test? Don't let it fail you. The evaluation, sometimes you get too much of this. You're looking down at stats. You're looking down at, just use your eyes. Just use your eyes. And you can see when a player, like look at Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat, when you look at Josh Sweat's career, for the last 5 years, 40 sacks, he's been your most productive down lineman of any lineman the last 5 years. Nobody's been more productive. And you know what people in Philly are doing? They're dismissing that career. It's all last 5 years. Josh Sweat on the team, they went to 2 Super Bowls and won one, and he was the best defensive player on the field on February 9th. Oh, yeah, but don't worry. You'll replace that? All right. My point about the offense, okay? Your offense is going to have to do more this year. That means that passing game at least is going to have to be a little more balanced. Has to be more balanced. Supers go to the top. Please hit the like button. Halfway in already on the first hour. Give me a total on the likes. Thank you guys so much. The rumors of infighting with the head coach hurt Wentz's reputation. Fans took Doug's side on that one. Yeah, there was massive infighting. But by the way, you know what resulted in that? Let me say this, Mike. One thing that please get those likes up, guys. One thing I'll say about that Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz fiasco, they become a better organization after that whole Wentz situation and Doug Peterson. They're better now. You know why? They've got guys who are all on the same page and know their role. The difference between Doug Peterson, I hate to say this because I'm a Doug guy. The difference between Doug Peterson's reign and Nick Sirianni's reign is that everyone knows their role. Nick's greatest asset, he knows his role, how he picks the personnel, how he picks the assistant coaches. My job is to make sure everyone in the building gets the message and understands he's the messenger. He's not the guy who dictates policy. And he does a great job of that. Doug wanted to do more. And that's where the infighting came. I want to pick my coaches. I want to pick the direction of the offensive game plan. I want to have a scheme that I like on defense. Organization wasn't going for that. Everyone now, do you notice whether it's Sean Desai, Jonathan Gannon, or Vic Fangio, you're running the same defense. Why is that? Why do you think all of those coordinators are running the same defense? I'm going to write this down. We're going to teach you a lesson here in personnel. Why do you think they run the same defense the last 5 years? Kyle says continuity. Okay, continuity is a word. Why do you believe? Because Howie makes all the calls. Howie. Why do you believe they play the same defensive scheme? You know, usually when you hire a new coordinator, you know what happens? He brings his own system in. He brings his own assistant coaches in. I'll tell you why. It's easier to go out and recruit and evaluate for that respected position. And it's easier to find free agents, and it's easier to draft when you play a zone. The last 5 years, you play 2-eye safety zone. I'm looking for zone corners. I'm not looking for guys who play man. I'm looking for zone corners. Whether it's Sean Desai, Jonathan Gannon, or Vic Fangio, it doesn't matter. I'm looking for zone corners. In college, free agency, I'm looking for people that fit our scheme and our system. It's so much easier than to do this. Let me hire a new coordinator. You know what that means? 95% of the personnel on defense don't fit a respected scheme. That's why teams fail. Coaches won't change. They'll change the system. You know how many times you hire a coordinator? He walks in there and he goes, we're going to run this defense. 95% of the roster doesn't fit his defense. Before you know it, you're last in defense. That's not the case in Philly. You're going to pretty much do the same thing no matter if Vic Fangio's here or he's not here, because it's easier for Howie to plug and play. Makes it easy. That's why you're having so few misses in drafting. You know why you get this? I made this point to you. I got drafted from the University of Miami to the Buccaneers to play nose guard in a zero technique, which I've never played. Why would you draft me? I was the 56th player taken. It's a second rounder. Jalen Hurts and I were pretty much the same pick. Why the fuck would you draft me to play a position, one, I've never played, secondly, in a system of a 34, which I've never seen, and you asked me to go play that? I was like, I don't even know what the techniques are. You know how many times that happens to players? More than you think. Not in Philly. Look at the two dudes you just drafted in the secondary this past year. They played zone in Iowa and Toledo. That's what they did. Look at the edge rushers that you're bringing in. Aren't they all kind of looking alike? The Bryce Huffs, the Hassan Reddicks, the Nolan Smiths. There's no 6'4", 275-pound end playing in Philly. That's not what they're looking for. The guys they're looking for are 6'3", 238, and could be multiple and play in space. Every guy that you have, look at Moro Ajomo. Doesn't Moro Ajomo play a little like Milton Williams? Doesn't he look like, when he's out there, doesn't he look like he plays like Milton? I mean, if you put Milton Williams' jersey on him, you could say that kind of looks like Milton. I mean, so that's how they're drafting. It is easier for Howie Roseman to build that defense quicker with people that look the same by keeping the same scheme. It's harder than you think every single time that you make a move at coach and you bring a new coordinator in. That's why when the Eagles hire these coordinators, when Kevin Patullo got elevated, why did he get elevated? Because they're going to run the ball still. And they're going to be a little bit more effective and efficient on passing the ball. And the one thing that the Eagles don't do, they don't throw the ball across the middle of the field. That's not what they do. But they don't have to. They utilize the quarterback skill set. They're going to run RPOs. They're going to run on the numbers with the receivers. They're barely going to use the tight end unless there's an injury. The tight end position in Philly has to be improved. You know why? One of the reasons they're moving off of Goddard, that's where they're going to improve the offense. They're not going to improve the offense with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. It's not about getting those guys more touches. It's about getting that tight end involved. And the only way you get that tight end involved is what? A healthier guy. I will take a lesser Dallas Goedert. Okay? I'll take a lesser Dallas Goedert for a guy who's out there 17 weeks. Give me a guy I can count on 17 weeks where I can start having him part of my offensive attack. Get this, if you get a more consistent player at tight end, your offensive passing game will improve. Look at the great passing attacks in the NFL today. If you don't have a quality tight end, you don't have a quality passing game. Every single top-notch guy, unless you have two big-time wideouts like you have in Cincinnati or you have in Philly. If you don't have the entire offense in Kansas City runs through Kelsey. You have got to have a guy who's more consistent for that offense because the offense is going to be asked to do more this year. And what I mean by do more, here's all I'm asking the offense to do. Sustain drives more. Keep it in third and short. And don't give up shitty field position with 3 and outs. Especially early on in the year. The passing game can't be 29th. Then again, I'm not looking for the passing game to be 8th. The passing game was 29. Hey, let me ask you this. If the Eagle passing game gets to 12th, let's just say 12th, even 15th, middle of the league, how good do you think you'll be? I'll give you just off the top of my hat what I think your team could be if you're 15th, 12 to 15. What do you think your football team will be this year? If you're between 12 and 15 offensively, especially in the passing game, you're going to be awful high because of the running attack. If you're between 12 and 15, how good do you think your offense will be? 14-3? A 14-win team? Let me tell you something. If you're between 12 and 15 in the passing game this year, and you sustain anything you look like a year ago running the ball, you'll be unbeatable. And that'll depend on what the defense looks like. If you're 12 in passing, and you're number 2 in running, like you were this past year, you'd be the number 1 offense in the NFL. That's all we're talking about, an improvement. And I think it starts at that tight end position. Do you really believe that you're going to get more production out of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown this coming year? I don't. All they got to do is stay healthier. You're going to get more production out of that tight end position, which is going to open up the numbers, which will make it easier. Can you imagine if you had a 12th ranked passing attack and the number 2 ranked running attack? You might not lose a ball. How about this? You'll be favored in every fucking game that you play in this year. You'll be favored in every game. RC3. I agree. 215 to 220, you'll be favored in every football game. And I happen to think this year, because of Jalen finally setting protections, I think he'll be better next year or this coming fall. I think he'll be better. That offense underachieved and still won the Super Bowl. They were afforded the ability to underachieve because you had the number 1 defense. So you don't have that anymore. You don't know what that defense is going to look like. It could be number 1. All I know is this. On February 9th, you had the number 1 defense in football. That number 1 defense is not coming back. It's over with. You got a brand new group of dudes now. You're starting from scratch. And you're like, well, don't you think we have some good pieces? Here's where I think you have your great pieces. Carter, I think Davis does a great job at stopping the run. I think Nolan has to prove to me that he could play 17 games. Nakobe Dean, let's find out what kind of health he is. Let's see if Bond can do it again. These are all good pieces, I'm saying here. I'm pointing them out. Q, yes. Cooper, yes. Reed, yeah. How good will Reed Blankenship be this year without Slay? You think Reed Blankenship and Cooper DeJean benefited from Darius Slay playing a great corner? Yes or no? Guy who played 900 snaps. You think those guys benefited from having a lockdown corner like that? I want to show you something here. That guy's 35 years old. He got a $10 million deal. In Pittsburgh, who doesn't pay money? Pittsburgh gave that guy $10 million. I thought that was high. But then I realized how good he was. Xander and I were both right. He's too injured, but he's also too good. Dude, that corner position is going to be tougher to replace than Sweat and Milton Williams. Finding that corner is going to be harder than you think. Slay played great for 4 years for you. He played all-pro corner. He was a for sure thing. And again, it's the hardest position to play on defense is corner. And you're not replacing him with Keely Ringo. Guy had 100 snaps. And you're replacing him. That offense has to have more balance. That's why they have to resolve this tight end solution or whatever predicament that they're in. Because if they get the right guy in there at tight end and Jalen in that offensive passing attack and get to 12 to 15, that's all you're looking for. That's a micro improvement in what we're talking about here. You're not going to improve anything with AJ and Devontae. Those guys, with health, they're going to get their numbers again. By the way, I think your running style took its toll on them. And those guys were banged up because they had the block in the run game. You're going to need a little more depth at wideout. I would like to have another blocking wide receiver in there. Doesn't have to be a star. I'm not talking about a guy who can make a ton of catches. I want a guy in there that can make some blocks in the passing game because you're going to need that. Last year, your receivers were banged up because of style of play. Were they not? Was it just a coincidence that you had a guy go for 2,005 yards and all you heard Nick Sirianni talking about in the passing game was how great the wide receivers block? Well, you're going to need more physicality at that position. And not that AJ's not a physical player. I just don't want the wear and tear to go down on him where he's missing significant gains, especially late in the year when you're fighting for home field advantage. Johnny Wilson is not the answer. You got 2 wide receivers on your team. The rest of them are garbage. You need more help at that position, at least to fit your style of play. Here's what you have in your wide receiving room. You got 2 exceptional ball players. The rest of them are nobodies. And for that style of play, you need to have a guy who's going to put his nose in there and block his ass off. I don't care if a guy plays wide receiver 3 and he has whatever 40 catches. It's not important. It's important that you still maintain your running attack and what you're going to eventually have to go with beating teams because that's your forte is being physical at the point of attack. Okay, Texas, who's better outside of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown? Name me one guy you have on the roster right now that's worth the shit. You ain't picking the 5th-year option of Jahan Dotson up. Name me a guy. Name me one guy you would go, that guy's a really good-looking prospect and really does a great job in the run game. You don't have him. Like to see a little more depth there. Young Dotson. I mean, yeah, just the blocking. The way you're going to get that passing game better is by dumping Dallas Goedert. Sills, Goddard's good. I'm sick of that talk. Dallas Goedert is good. You know what? It's like you have a beautiful looking Ferrari with no engine, and it's parked in your garage, and you can't drive the fucking thing, but it sure looks good. The car's awesome. Pininfarina, paint job. You got the Pirellis on it. Unbelievable looking Dino or Daytona or Diego. Unbelievable looking Ferrari. F14, unbelievable. Looks great. No engine. Shit. What good is it? What good is it? To improve the passing game and to help the defense, that offense is going to have to be electric in the passing game. And I don't mean to have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They just have to be in the middle of the pack, and you won't be beat. That's how you evolve an offense. That's how you get yourself better. Xander will join us at 3:30. Jason Cole at 4:30. Dave Wannstedt, the owner of 3 Super Bowl rings, as D coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys back in the day with Jimmy, will be with us at 5:30, Fox Sports. He also worked with Vic Fangio in Chicago. Hit the like button. We appreciate you guys. We're going to go over a little bit of what Zach Bond addressed the media with. He's not very good in front of the microphone, but that's okay. He's not very good. I mean, some of the things he said, he's learning. Guy hasn't been a star for 1 year, and it showed when he was being asked questions. He really didn't know, again, what and how to answer some of the questions. Let's go over that a little bit now on what Bond did by addressing the media. Was asked the question, Zach Bond. By the way, do I think Zach Bond's going to have the same type of year that he had a year ago? Well, your corners are different. They'll be playing different. Q is going to be playing a different position. You have to find another corner. You have to find a swing corner. You're going to start out with a different linebacker inside, maybe. Your edge rushers are different. Your front four is different. You lose Sweat and Milton. Do I think Zach Bond will have the same year? Probably not, because they'll be scheming him differently. I'm not saying you have down year. I'm saying that he's going to have to elevate his game, Kenny. For a guy that's never had to elevate his game. For a guy that's never been, one thing Zach Bond has never done, he's never had to prepare his season where he's had to elevate his game because people are going to start scheming on him. They're going to start putting tight ends in his face. Nobody ever looked at a defensive game plan and said, well, let me have to block Zach Bond. Well, that's new this year. That's a new role he's in. How is he going to perform that way? Okay? That's who's going to be on the chalkboard when you're talking about having a game plan, him, Jalen Carter. Those are two dudes. He said he didn't want to leave. And I believe that. Why would you? I think he left $10 million on the table over a 3-year period. I think he probably left about $10 to $12 million on the table. Instead of 17, he probably could have got $20 million. 18, 19 million, somewhere in there. He was more of a force on that Eagle defense last year than what Josh Sweat was. Probably left about $10 million on the table. And he didn't want to leave. What I liked was when he said about his expectations, he was asked about expectations. He goes, I want to build on what we did a year ago. He doesn't even know When guys like John McMullen were asking him questions, he didn't even know how to answer those questions because he's never been in this role. That was my takeaway. I mean, it was like he was not prepared because he's not been in this position. He's going to have to do a lot of thinking about how he's going to follow up the 2024 season because he didn't explain it very well today. People were going, how do you feel about being the guy that people are going to be scheming? Well, I just have to build on what I did a year ago, and we got a lot of good guys around us, and yeah, I was like, okay. All right. He's in a different role. He was asked about being a leader. You know, that's something I always wanted. I'm going to show you why this was goofy too. I always wanted to be a leader. I always wanted to have a bigger voice. I always wanted to be a guy that people could look at. Bro, leaders don't answer like that. Leaders are leaders. You don't evolve into being a leader. You born it. You're either a leader or you're not. You don't lead with, well, you know, I always wanted to be that when I was younger. You're a leader and you believe you're a leader of men, whether you're on the special teams, or whether you're the 53rd man on a roster. You either know that or you don't. Mr. International, I'm sure you've been in a ton of NFL locker rooms with a ton of NFL leaders. Or with a ton of men that have led men. I'm sure you have. Sound like somebody else I know. You know, there's certain people that write about the NFL, and there's certain people that played in the NFL. Know the position. Know relationships. Know what when I get this, when John McMullen looks at a depth chart, John looks at a depth chart with names on it. You know how I look at a depth chart? You know how I look at a depth chart? That's how the coaches see the players at their respective positions and where I am on the totem pole. If I'm the third dude on that depth chart on a 53-man roster, I'm in trouble. If I'm the second dude, they like me. If I'm the first team guy, I got a lot of pressure on me. That's how I look at a depth chart. I don't look who's going to play on Sunday. I look at, like, see when Xander said, all those guys are going to be fighting for $1 million bags of money. Shit, man. The way I look at it, all those guys you signed, they're fighting for their NFL careers. When you're fired from multiple places, you think you're thinking about a bag of money? Let me give you Zach Bond's comment. Zach Bond was asked a question about signing that one-year contract in Philadelphia last year. You know what he said? I wasn't thinking about money. That's the least for my mind. I had no way was I thinking about cash at all. I was thinking about fit. I was thinking about, just fitting in and seeing if I could extend my NFL career. 18 months later, he's making $18 million a year. He wasn't thinking about money. He was thinking about survival. Bro, there's only 53 chairs in that locker room. Those chairs aren't handed out. You fight your ass off for one of them chairs. It's the toughest thing to do, is to earn one of those NFL chairs for the regular season. I can't tell you how hard that is. My time, it was even harder. There was only 47 of them, and there wasn't no practice squad. There was only 47 chairs. Now you got 53, and you can have as many as 91 guys on a football team. Oh, it was 71. 71 guys on a team. Power to the league and the players for making that happen. You're not fighting for money. You're fighting for survival. God willing, it pans out and you're in the right fit. Get this, if Zach Bond was worried about money last year when he signed that $3.5 million deal in Philly, okay? He wasn't playing like he was worried about money. He was playing like opportunity was put at his feet, and he took complete opportunity of something. By the way, you know what you look back on that as with Zach Bond? What were the Saints thinking? You had an all-pro linebacker in your building for 4 years, and you didn't know what to do with him? What a swing and a miss by Mickey Loomis, the GM of the Saints, and by Dennis Allen. How do you not know that when they needed linebacker help? Wow. That Zach Bond miss by the Saints is as detrimental as the New York Giants moving off of Barkley. The only difference was you knew what you had with Barkley. In New Orleans, you didn't with Zach Bond. Okay? No shit, he wasn't all pro. You're trying to tell me that he was a special teams guy. You're missing it, RC3. I'm telling you, they didn't know they had a potential linebacker who could help your football team because they never elevated him. Because you know why? They only saw him as a special teams guy. That's all they saw him as. Okay? They saw him only in that role. They didn't see him in any role. That's another thing about Fangio. Let me write this down. Vic doesn't define you in roles or expectations. The player will dictate that. You go out there and play your ass off. You practice hard. You listen. You're attentive. You show up to meetings. You're a good teammate. You're going to play. And that coach is going to play you whether you're a 7th-round pick or you're the 7th pick in the draft. He's going to play you. That's what makes him a great coach. He is not boxed in to the personnel department. They're working together. Howie's trying to get on the same page with him. You know what makes Howie right now successful? He's listening to Stoutland and Vic Fangio. What is the DNA or the profile of a player that you want, Vic, at edge? Ask yourself this. And I just brought this up. Don't all these edge rushers look alike? Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, right? Uche. Don't these guys all look alike? That's Vic Fangio. Vic's looking at those guys, and he wants all those guys to be prototypical. Now, one or two or none are going to pan out. But everyone looks the same. Here, when you draft a safety, you know what he's going to resemble? Reed Blankenship. When you draft a corner, he's going to look like Q. Zone safety corner, zone corner, or a guy who plays 2 high safety. Thank you, dual threat. Hot take. Zach Bond is a part of the exciting whites. Also, Sills, do you see a draft day trade? Maybe. A la DeAndre Swift and A.J. Brown. I think it could happen. I'm not sure what player and what the draft picks that he'd have to surrender, Leon, on what that would be. Okay? I don't know what that's going to look like on draft day. What would you be willing to give up to get an edge rusher in some of the players that you've acquired, some of the players that you have on your team? Who's the most tradable player right now? Here, who's the most tradable player right now on the Eagles that has a value in a trade? Dallas Goedert's a tough one because of the money. It's $15 million. He's injured all the time, and he's an older player. Is that value? Like, would the Rams take him and put him on that offense? I mean, Dallas Goedert in Los Angeles with the Rams or with the Chargers, that looks pretty good. But what would that look like? I mean, how would that look like money-wise for those respected ball clubs? And would they want to take that on? And would they want to take the risk? Goddard's a risky guy. A.J. Brown is not, he's not on the stove right now. Next year, I'll put him on the stove to be traded. Not this year. Okay? Because I want to get the heir apparent and the replacement for him next year. I'm going to draft a wide receiver next year because I'm going to replace him because he's too expensive. All these wideouts get moved, and I'm going to move him. And I'll get younger and bigger, and I'll have him on a rookie deal, and it'll lower my cap. So I'll be able to do that. I'm not putting him on the stove this year. I'll put him on the stove next year. Who else do you think you have a trade value? Bryce Huff has no trade value. Trotter has no trade value. Would you trade Keely Ringo? I know what kind of – you don't really have trade value in players you want to trade. You don't have anybody. Smitty, why would I want to get rid of Devontae Smith? I'm not trading Devontae Smith. I said somebody that has trade value that you'd be willing to move off of. Not moving off of Devontae Smith. Draft Tyler Barron from Miami, edge. Pretty good. Okay, disappears a little bit. I want to see him play the run a little bit better. That was my concern with some of those D linemen and those edge rushers at UM. My opinion about the defensive guys at Miami, I don't know. I'm suspect on them. No disrespect to Mario and those guys. He knows I love them. But that defense got destroyed against the run. I'm not a fan of that and those personnel guys that are on that team. University of Miami defensive players are not very good. You can't be 112th and talk to me, who was on a number one defense in the country, and tell me that's a good fucking defense. That's not happening. I played on the number one defense in the country 2 years in a row. That ain't happening. 112. Well, I'm going to draft a guy from the – no, I'm not. Okay, go ahead. Sure. Okay. Yeah, okay. Tyler Steen, does he have trade value? Probably because he worked. Yeah, that's a good one. Tyler Steen has trade value because he's in the system with with Jeff Stoutland. He's playing on the best offensive line in football. And for him not to get a starting job, he's third-round draft choice, which is a high pick. He's tradable. I would put him in a trade. Him and Goddard could get you something, maybe. If a team would be willing to pick up Goddard's contract. There's something to trade on draft day. You got to put the right pieces together. You just can't go, let's trade AJ, and it's not going to work. $32 million, cap hits. You can defer those 2 years on the cap hits. I get it, but why? If you're New England, AJ Brown makes sense. I know Xander's not a fan of it, but I don't care. There ain't a wide receiver coming out in the next 3 years that have A.J. Brown's skill set. Would I eat $60 million on my cap spread out over 230 to get a top-flight all-pro receiver for Drake May? Fucking A, I would. If he can help Jalen Hurts, he can help Drake May. That's worth it. Now, the fourth pick, I don't know. The fourth pick and the cap hits, that's a lot. And I'm talking for New England. Thoughts on safety, Mekhi Moore, Bama. Anybody out of Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, Oregon, I don't believe in the Texas players on defense. Show me a Texas player in the last 10 years that Sarkisian or anybody has put in the National Football League where you go, how many of them are there? You know where you see great defensive players? Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Oregon. Show me a player that has been drafted in the last 5 years out of Michigan that has been a good player. Earl Thomas was drafted 11 or 13 years ago. Give me a guy in the last 5 years. Aiden Hutchinson. Absolutely. Aiden Hutchinson. Kid's got to stay healthy. I think he's a good-looking ball player. I'm shocked that he's that good. But again, if you're looking for defensive players, Georgia, Bama, A&M, anywhere in the Southeastern Conference, Penn State does a great job at recruiting really good players. You know what they don't do? Getting those really good players to win. They don't win. They don't win the significant games. The head coach beats Northwestern, Indiana, Iowa, and when he plays against Michigan and Ohio State, now Oregon, they get rolled. Okay? Sills. I think the Eagles trade Steen for a fourth. What do you say? Well, that means you lost on the pick. He's a third rounder. Aren't you putting any value into Tyler Steen working with Jeff Stoutland? I am. How do you think Mekhi Becton got that money in Los Angeles with the Chargers? One, he performed well with Saquon Barkley, and second, he was coached by Stoutland. That's why he got that money. I mean, Jeff Stoutland made him a millionaire. Jeff Stoutland, well, he was already, but made him a significant free agent. Look at what Jeff Stoutland did for Andre Dillard when he went to Tennessee. Look at what he just did with Fred Johnson. I heard John McMullen say, Fred Johnson's deal is not that big a deal. I don't know about you. A backup getting $4 million? He signed a contract that was richer than what Zach Bond did last year at 3.5. And this guy was a swing tackle who was considered a bust in Cincinnati. I don't know about you, but $4 million bucks, and now you get a chance to be a starter on a 1-year deal. You go down there and you start, you play well. You could say next year, you could sign yourself to a $10 million deal, $6 million deal in Jacksonville. I think that's a great deal for Fred. You're going to go down there, get a chance to start, make $5 million in incentives. That's bad. And get this, the Eagles look at him and go, we'll find another Fred Johnson. I believe that. But that's a good deal for Fred. Not everybody's going to be a $10, $15 million guy. Fred Johnson, who was considered like a nobody, got $5 million bucks. Okay. I mean, Fred got paid. And he gets a chance to start. Get this. You get paid more money than you were making. Fred was making $1.5 million. 4 times the money he made last year. That's a bad deal? Was he going to get $20 million? No, he wasn't that guy because he wasn't a starter in Philadelphia. How many backups do you know end up making $5 million a year? Got it because he played in Philly. Played for Stoutland. He was schooled by Stoutland. That's a big deal. More on Baun. Yeah, Baun was goofy behind the mic. I thought, Yeah, here it is again. Baun said, I didn't come to Philly for the money. I didn't think one time about the money. I was looking more for fit, man. I wanted to fit in. I didn't even know I could play inside. This guy wasn't coming to Philadelphia looking for a bag of money. This guy was fighting for his life. And get this. Let me ask you something. To Xander's point, he's not wrong, but let me ask you this. If you were out there and you had to find food, and the only way you had to find food was you had to go out and kill something or find something, and you were starving, and you had to go for survival, you think you're more motivated to stay alive, knowing that if you don't find some food, you're going to die? That's how a football player looks at his career when he's bounced around and no one gives him a shot. Not whether or not, and you're in a comfort zone, look what the riches could be for me. You're fucking looking to survive. I got to eat every day. I got to go out and kill my prey. I'm looking in a survival mode. You're more motivated that way than thinking about going out. Well, hey, look what I can do if I play really well. Fuck that. I'm looking to survive. I mean, every person that gets up off his ass every day and goes out and earns a living knows what I'm talking about. Paying bills. Hey, end of the month comes every day. Can't sit back on your ass thinking about the riches you're going to make. I'm trading Xander for Danica Patrick. She's a better driver. Look, Coochie. What? Danica Patrick. The, what is that? She's was like that tennis player. Never won shit. Looks good. Like it. Do you think Mike Green, Preisley, and let me say this about Mike Green, a kid from Marshall. Duel. I hear there's some baggage with the kid's character. And I heard Howie not say good. Nah, that could be smokescreen shit. But I think that kid is going to go in the top 12 picks. I think he's the second best. I think he's the second best edge rusher. Okay, I do. I think he's the second best one. So, yeah. Yeah, so these guys that, like Zach Baum wasn't thinking about a $51 million contract. Wasn't thinking about it. Okay. Thanks for the super dog. Appreciate you, man. Please hit the like button. Give me a total on the likes here. Let me go here. Expectations are going to be a challenge for him. He goes, I'm excited about the challenge. This guy doesn't know what his new season's going to bring to him because he's never been in this role. When you got a player like Roquan Smith or Fred Warner, those guys walk into every year knowing what they're going to do, who they're going to beat, expectations. Expectations come from people that produce and perform. This is the first time Zach has had success in the NFL. How does he deal with success? Will be interesting moving forward. Had the year, got the money. How did Carson Wentz handle it? On 11, guys, do me a favor. Please get the likes up. Tell me this. How did Wentz handle it? Not everybody handles success well. Do I think he'll be a fault? No, I don't. But you'll have to learn how to play with the contract. How do you think Jalen Hurts played in 23 when he got the contract? Good? Below average? How did he play with the money? Once he signed that contract, how did he play with it? I thought he was up and down all 23. Good start, horrible ending. Turnover machine. Completely revamped it and fit into a system that they developed while it was developing itself. And he adapted. That's a smart player. That's a smart player. Hey, we're running the ball well. I'm not getting in the way. You know how many quarterbacks in this league would not do that? All of them. Hurts is the only guy that's going to do something like that. Yeah, we're doing so well, I'm not going to get in the way. That's what he did. I love the fact that Howie was talking to him all year long. Howie must have recognized him in Brazil because one of the conversations that popped up yesterday when he was asked this question. Hey, when they were negotiating, he said that Vic, Nick, Howie, his agent, and him were all involved in the conversation. And they wanted to expand. I thought somebody would continue that line of questioning because I thought that was interesting. So Vic was involved in talking to him and talking him into staying and not testing free agency. Wow. That's really great. Came out of Zach Bond's mouth. I think that's great. You got your coordinator involved, your head coach involved, the general manager, all telling you how important you are to us. Our expectations of you. We're looking for you to do this. We're looking for you to play like this. Fucking great. That makes you want to stay. Grass ain't greener on the other side, friends. And that's what he looked at. His wife and him bought a house in Wisconsin where they're from. They're commuting back and forth. Fell in love with Philly. He wants to be an Eagle. I want to pay him. I want to pay people that want to play here. I don't want to pay people who complain to be here. Now I know what happened to Reddick. Reddick complained. And he didn't give off the vibes that he wanted to play here. They moved him. Thoughts on Petula? Will we take a step back or not? Leon. We'll get to that here in a minute. Hurts is much stronger mentally than Wentz. Not debating that. Correct, Kimbo. Not the point what I was making. What happened to Carson Wentz? He took a step back and then out. He had 5 great years. Then he fell apart. You don't think that can happen to other players? Happens every day and every year in this league. You guys are under the impression after one season. How about this? Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Both of them are in this place with me. Both could have great careers. One can have a great career. One will underachieve. One will be a Hall of Famer. Which one is it? I don't know. I like Cooper DeJean more than I like Quinyon Mitchell. There's something there. I could build my football team in the secondary around him. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of a Cam Chancellor. Tone setter. Guy that gives the energy to the defense. There's just something about him. You know, when John Lynch played with the Bucks in the secondary, or when Dawkins played with the Eagles, there's something about, or Andre Waters, there's something about a guy, because when you plugged him in after the bye, the defense looked different, had a different attitude, had a different approach. I don't know. I think DeJean's going to have a better career. And I could see that guy playing in Philly his entire career. I don't know. Listen, I'm not saying Q won't. I'm just saying that's a projection by me. I may be wrong. Players fall off all the time. Players excel and exceed. Look at Jalen Hurts. Look at Jalen Hurts' career. Nobody in a million years ever thought Jalen Hurts was going to be a starting quarterback in this league. I don't give a fuck what the Eagles think. You draft a guy in the second round, you're not thinking he's a starter. This came off the heels of you giving Carson Wentz a $33 million annual deal. How in the world do they lie like that? That guy was going to be the starting quarterback in Philly. It's a bull-faced lie. That's like the Patriots saying they saw it all the time that Brady was going to be the starting quarterback after giving Drew Bledsoe a $118 million contract a year before. Absolute bullshit. Or Russell Wilson. Do you guys remember? Hey, Bob, if you're in here, they signed some guy named Ryan, I think his name was, what was it? Ryan Flynn or something like that from Green Bay that was Favre's backup. They gave him an $18 million deal. They drafted Russell Wilson in the third round. Thought Russell Wilson was going to be the starting quarterback. Turns out to be a guy who led them to 2 NFC titles and a Super Bowl. Come on, man. Don't kid yourselves. You may have a second-round pick. Matt Flynn, is that his name? I don't know. He was like the backup quarterback in Green Bay. He had one great game. And the Seahawks gave him like a huge contract. And then they drafted Russell Wilson in the third round. Shit, Tavares Jackson was on that team. He made more money than Russell Wilson for 3 years, and he was the backup because Wilson was a third rounder. Yeah, okay. Yeah, they knew he'd be a starter. Yeah, all right. Look at him exceeding. Nobody thought he was going to be that guy. You don't draft a guy in the second round thinking he's going to be a $50 million guy. I mean, so I think Jalen needs to step up on offense, and it seems like we might have found a key to better Jalen with tempo. I'd like him up tempo, but what issues could you see solely relying on tempo? Again, well, that's a one read. Why do you think, Samuel, he's better in up tempo? Because it's single read. That's a single read offense, up tempo. Boom, 3 steps, boom, boom, 3 steps, out. Boom, 3 steps, out. When he gets more into a rhythm offense, it's because it's not a progression reading offense. Hurts is still not very good at that. Now, in the Super Bowl, he was ahead of his checks better than I've ever seen. The Super Bowl was the best game I've ever seen him play when it came to reading defenses, and a very complicated defense with Steve Spagnuolo. Okay? That's the best I've ever seen him. He was consistently ahead of his landmarks and his checks and his reads. I mean, if you watch Kansas City, you go back and watch that February 9th game. The number one thing you'll notice, it was that every single linebacker and every single corner, they were a step late. He was constantly ahead of what they were calling. He was well prepared for that game. Seals, how concerned should we be about Kevin Patullo? Our passing game struggled with a quarterback guru who had the number one offense. Patullo scares me. That was also a question Leon asked. I should answer it now. I will. I'm not concerned about Kevin Patullo whatsoever as long as they stay within the scheme of what they did a year ago. If they run the football 28 times, 25 times a game, and they're throwing the football 21 times a game, that's the formula for them. John disagrees with me on that. Well, I don't think my numbers prove what they did. John's saying that things change every single week. That's not true. For 17 weeks, especially after the bye, that was the formula. They ran the ball more, threw the ball less. That's a fact. They 29% more RPOs they ran from week 5 on than any other team in the league. So you can say whatever you want about, well, every game's got its. That's not how they played. You know why? Because the Eagles dictated what they were going to do, whether you liked it or not. The Eagles didn't have a feel for what they were going to do. The Eagles told you what they were going to do. They ran the ball, and they were effective in throwing the ball on third down. That's who they were. Look at the numbers. Look at the wins. They won on a 10-game win streak doing that. How many games from the bye week, do you think they threw the ball more than they ran it? I went back and looked. None. I think the games Hurts didn't play at the end of the year. I think the Giant game and maybe Washington. I think the second Washington. during the regular seaon. They didn't change they didn't play to their opponent's weaknesses. They didn't give a shit what your weakness or strength was. They ran the ball down your throat. How many times were we saying this when we saw Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Washington, who had a pretty good stout run defense? Well, we're going to find out how good that run offense. They didn't give a shit. They ran the ball anyway on you, and they ran it down their throats. They dictated. That's being a bully. That's being an ass beater. So when you say Kevin Patullo, you stay with that formula, you'll be all right. Stay with that. Hey, the one thing that coaching staff did last year, it's funny, man. Every year, every week, you get teams that look at certain strengths and weaknesses. You know what the Eagles did? I'll say it again to you. They didn't give a shit. They had the 29th worst passing attack in the NFL. If that thing's 12th, which is getting more out of the tight end position so you can throw across the middle of the field, you'll be favored in every football game. That's how much upside you have. Seals, we won the Super Bowl. We had the third worst offense in passing. Can you imagine if you get in the middle of the room? Which I think you're going to have to this year. I know there's a lot of people celebrating the new guy stepping in. And we'll see. I told you I'm a resume guy. And I don't see a lot of resumes over there. I see a lot of projection and that awful word of potential. This guy's got – look, you think Jordan Mailata's got potential? Hell no. He's proven his potential. Think Landon Dickerson's got potential? We don't use words like potential when you describe Lane Johnson. You describe potential? How about Landon? Do you talk about potential? Shit, not even Cam. Everybody, when you're talking about potential, do you talk about A.J. Brown or Devontae or Saquon? Here's what we do when we go on the defensive side. Nolan Smith's got potential to be a good player. Moro Ojomo's got the potential to take over for Milton Williams. Nakobe Dean's got the potential to be a really good football player in this league. Keely Ringo has potential. You know what that means to me? Once again, look at all those places people haven't done shit. That's what that is. When you're a good player in this league, the word potential is not brought up. Any analyst from now on moving forward, when you hear that word out of their mouth, always know this. They're projecting. It's wishful thinking. It's hope. Hope. One of the words I hate the most. Hey, I hope I land on a bag of money. Hey, I hope it's sunny out. Hey, I hope. Yeah, right? Fucking hope. Holy shit. What do you guys got? A hope chest? You know, them little girly hope chest? Hey, I hope my DE ends up having 10 sacks. Shit. Hope. Get a little hope chest when you get married and shit like that. Hey, man, I hope everything pans out. Holy criminy. Give me a break. I got to be good because, again, we're in the holy time now, so I'm trying to be decent here. And I'm trying not to be big sales, but I heard Johnny Mack take a shot at me today. Oh, Sileo said it about Jordan Davis. Oh, John, come on now, man. I know, hey, man, it's one way or the highway. That's John McMullen's new nickname. What highway? The McMullen Highway. Without further ado, by the way, I love that dude, and I think he does a spectacular job. I love the fact that the Eagles go to him, too, in the pit. When the players are there, the coaches are there, man. really a huge asset for us, man. Those guys are doing such a great job on Birds 365. John Highway McMullen and Big Z, Xander Krause. How you doing, brother?
What's up, Big Sills? How you living over there, brother?
I'm doing, man. How about you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Off season's moving right along. First day of spring today, and it feels like it outside. It's all good in the neighborhood, brother.
How about except for the Green Bay Packers bitching and moaning about the tush push? Did you hear how they submitted it? Here it is, official proposed rule by the Packers to amend Rule 12, Section 1, prohibiting an offensive player from pushing a teammate who is lined up directly behind him and the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. So between Micah Parsons and the Packers, those two dudes are on my bitch list heading into 2025. Do you think they're going to change that rule? Competition committee's meeting.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, who knows? I'm with you though, man. What are we doing here? You can't stop a play, so you want to rule it out. But I didn't even spend time on it this morning on Birds 365 because I really didn't want to. I thought it was freaking the whole thing was stupid. But John brought up a good point. It's more likely to pass if the competition committee, I think, makes a stink about it. So I don't think they have or will. I haven't heard anything about that. But yeah, the Packers are butthurt, Sills. We beat them in the playoffs. Get used to it, Green Bay.
You beat them twice, actually. Opener and in the playoffs.
Yeah, baby.
That's the worst thing about it. Hey, dude, I want to throw this at you here. And again, we kind of broached it a little bit a couple months ago, but let me bring it up again here. With all the guys that have been extended, and I'm going to throw this over here at you here. You think it's a priority for Jeffrey Lurie right now to address either Nick Sirianni or Howie's contract? It runs out at the end of the 2025 season. And here's where Nick is. Nick is the 17th. Nick is the 17th highest paid head coach in the league right now. Let's do Nick first. He makes reportedly $7 million a year. Here's coaches who make more. D'Amico Ryans at 8, Dan Quinn at 8.5. Liam Cohen in Jacksonville makes 12. He's the brand new head coach. 1-year coordinator in Tampa makes $12 million. Kevin O'Connell makes 13. I mean, the other guys, Reed, Peyton, Tomlin, Harbaugh, McVay, all those guys in the top 5, they've won Super Bowls. It's $15 to $20 million for Nick Sirianni. I mean, where does Nick fall in this? If you're the Eagles, how important do you think they think he is? Where does he go on this list?
Got to be high, man. Got to be, I think, maybe the highest in the league. Maybe you could put him behind Andy.
You think they're going to pay him $20 million a year?
How do you not? Give me one good reason why they shouldn't. He's been a coach for 4 years, so he's been to the Super Bowl 2 times. He's won the NFC twice in 4 years. He's a Super Bowl champion in his first 4 years as a head coach. I mean, push comes to shove. This guy deserves every dollar. He's earned every dollar. I think Nick Sirianni's a no-brainer. And
do you think they see him
expire this year too?
Do you see him as a Sean Payton and Mike Tomlin? Or do you think they see him that way?
He's a different style. He's got his own style. Obviously, Nick is not like Tomlin or those guys, but he's quirky, but he does a damn good job, and the players play for him, man. I saw enough of what those players think of him last year to know that my opinions on Nick Sirianni at the end of the day don't really matter. It's one of those things. How valuable is an opinion? It's not more valuable than results. I'm on the same spot with Nick Sirianni. The guy keeps winning. The players play for him. Give him the contract. So I would imagine they're going to get that done soon. The weird thing with those is they could happen in the dark and not get it out. You don't have to report those things as much. So they could get the deal done. You remember when Roseman signed in 22 his 3-year extension? It kind of went under the woodwork. I think Philly Voice was the first guy that picked up on it, Jimmy Kemsky, and then they released it. So they could be getting it done. But one thing is, they don't go into lame duck years for anybody.
That's what I mean.
GMs, so It's going to happen this offseason if it does happen.
See, the only difference with Nick that I see with these guys, Andy Reid picks his own coaches and players. So does Peyton. So does Tomlin. So does Harbaugh.
But that's not what our organization believes.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and why I don't think he has the same importance in those organizations. Mike Tomlin's importance in the Steeler organization is by far more important than Nick Sirianni's in the Eagles. I get it's different, Xander. It's different
I think I don't
because
know
it's
about
more political.
important. I mean, I wouldn't say more important. I would just say it's a wide. The scope of the role is wider. I mean, Mike Tomlin's asked to do more things, but I don't think the Eagles would punish Nick Sirianni for that. That's their setup, right? That's what they believe. It's like what Zach Vaughn said in the press conference the other day, right? They have systems here in place that they believe allows people to flourish. Same thing with the coach. Same thing with the front office. They're not going to dock him for that. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but they're not going to dock him for that.
Do you think another coach could come into Philadelphia and win a Super Bowl? Whereas I don't think another coach could go into Kansas City and win another Super Bowl.
Well, that's a good point about Kansas City. I mean, it would be hard. I mean, what are we doing here? We've won 2 Super Bowls in franchise history. So I'm just saying, like, to think that you'd win with anybody, I think is a little bit naive. Nick certainly deserves something, but I get what you're saying. They have a great roster, a great system, a great team, a great organization. They believe they're bigger than any one man. And I don't necessarily think that's the wrong philosophy, to be honest with you.
No, I don't. Now, let me get to the most important guy. How do you handle Howie? The highest paid GM right now is Nick Caserio at $6 million.
Yeah,
for the Houston Texans. Okay, well, if you're Howie, you win another Super Bowl this year. Why wouldn't you want a challenge of becoming a guy who can really just call? Well, he does call his own shot in Philly.
Yeah, I don't know what bigger, because I thought about this before. Like, would Howie ever want to get out from under Jeffrey Lurie? But the only way to go is what? Be an owner?
What if
right?
he went to
what's
New England?
next for Roseman? There isn't anything next.
What if he went to New England and Kraft gave him the autonomy that he gave Belichick?
But what do you get there that you don't get here? Think about it. He's not going to be the head coach. He doesn't want to be the head coach. He's a GM. He pretty much has maximum power that a GM would have across the league.
I can't think of another thing he'd get in New England that he doesn't have in Philly.
So I don't think he's going anywhere. Howie's not going anywhere. I think Howie Roseman deserves a blank check. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I really do. I think he deserves a blank check.
You think he should be the highest paid GM in all sports?
Yes. People used to talk to me about Daryl Morey. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that. What a fraudulent general manager. What a total fraud who has no idea how to put your finger on the pulse of a team, figure out how to build a locker room, camaraderie, continuity, with the right players for the right room. I mean, I've been saying that phrase a lot this summer. Howie knows how to get the right players. And that's become evident with the culture of the locker room as it's been able to sustain the losses of guys like Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, now Brandon Graham. They've been able to keep their culture. So Flexen says Kraft's got the connects at the massage parlors. That's about it. I guess that's all you're getting. I don't think Howie wants that. So
no,
I think Howie should get, well, I mean, I don't know, max deal you could give a GM is what I would give Howie.
You're damn right, unless somebody gave him a percentage of ownership of a football team like the Jets.
You know how Krause does the 2-minute drills every day. He said that on a 2-minute drill. He's like, what's next for Howie? Ownership, I guess. So, I don't think they're actually going to do that. But Howie's, look, people have their gripes with Howie. You've had your gripes with Howie.
Yeah.
I understand. Nobody's perfect in this world, especially at GM. What Howie's done for this city, though, for this organization, you talk about, like Sills, earlier, before we won the Super Bowl this year, you said you guys are a winning organization. You're not a Super Bowl organization. Well, now we're both. All right. Yep. And I got news. Before Roseman, we were a winning organization, but we weren't even really a winning organization like that. The last 8 years, we've won more football games in that 8-year period than any other 8-year period, maybe in Eagles history. We have become a gold standard in the NFL. Whether you like us or don't like us, we have become a gold standard. And a lot of that is because of Howie Roseman. Jeffrey Lurie deserves credit. The players deserve credit. Everybody deserves credit. I don't say that as a one-man job, but he does a good job, man. I don't know what more you could ask. What more would you want from your GM?
Nothing. I think, again, I think Nick fits exactly. This is where Doug didn't get it, where you're talking about more of a guy who makes all the decisions. And you know what Nick's main job is is to convey the message that Howie and the owner want in the locker room on what their culture is and what they want it to be expected from the players. His number one job is he's kind of the buffer. And the players hear him because he's the voice of the owner and he's the voice of the GM. The GM doesn't give halftime speeches and pregame speeches. Right. That's the fucking head coach.
Yeah, I think they give Nick a little bit of a leash, though. Like, I think they let him be himself. You see that with the way he acts, right? I mean, he is himself. He's his own quirky self, and I think that's...
I don't think he has any say whatsoever in personnel.
Well, no, he doesn't have say in personnel. Not over Howie Roseman. No way. I mean, not even close. But I think, to your point, though, about, being the buffer between the front office, I do think they allow... There's a framework for sure. Like, hey, this is a core value that we want to have, or this is something we want to implement. But I think they allow Nick.
I think that's important. I'm not saying that that's not important, because obviously it's important. It works. I'm just saying that what they have and what they've implemented and how they are structured, it's working. And I don't think it worked with Doug. I think Doug fought them.
Doug was more like you and I. Doug didn't like to be told what to do.
That's right. That's right. Doug wants to pick his own shit, wants to do his own thing. And now get this. How about this? The least amount of resistance gives them the best formula for success. And that's what Nick gives them more than Doug.
Well, that's why Nick's the right coach for them.
Resistance.
Yeah, that's why Nick's the right coach for them. Because look, our front office isn't going to change. This is what they like. This is what the owner likes. He wants to have control. Some people, would rather have a different style of a GM or a different style of a coach or owner or whatever the case may be. In Philly, this is what it's going to be. So the best thing to do is not get a coach that wants to run everything his way. Get a guy that's willing to work within the guidelines, work within the, the barriers, the barricades that you set up, and maximize your success. And I think that's what Nick has done. And that's the perfect thing you can do in Philly as the head coach.
I heard something from Zach Bond that made me realize what you guys do now in personnel, and it's right there in front of you. When Zach Bond said yesterday, he said, look, during the process, Vic was constantly talking to me, Howie was talking to me, Nick was talking to me, my agent was talking to me, and we were going back and forth the whole way. I never wanted to leave. And I started thinking, holy shit, Vic does have say in the type of style of player that he's looking for. And all of these signs that you have made, think about it. The edge rushers all look alike. That's the style of edge that Vic wants. A 6'2", 235 guy. He's not looking for a 6'5", 290-pound, 275-pound guy. Don't they all look the same? When he's looking for corners, he's looking for zone corners. When he's looking for safeties, he's looking for guys that know how to play a 2-high safety or a Tampa 2. It's very simple. This is why you guys, whether it's Sean Desai, Jonathan Gannon, Vic Fangio, the system's the same. Why is that? Because Howie and the team have a structure in place. It's easier for me. This is to your point, why you feel so comfortable. It's not the players, Xander. It's the players they bring into the system, because Howie has an easier way and it gives you the less chance of failure. If I have a guy that I know that resembles Slay and could play 10 yards off the ball in a zone cover, that guy's going to resemble what Slay does. Now, will he play at the same level as Slay? I don't know. But they're going to be a less of an opportunity on misses because that system is staying intact. How many times have you ever seen in your life when a coordinator comes into a new place, all of a sudden the coordinator's got a new system. He wants to go to a 43. You got 34 personnel. It never works. Not in Philly. In Philly, you're going to play that 2-high safety zone cover. And whether it's Vic Fangio in the future or whether it's Lovie Smith, you're going to play that defense because.
Well, remember that changed after Schwartz.
What's that?
That changed after Schwartz.
Correct.
Before Schwartz, you remember when Gannon showed up and Fletcher Cox was like, what the fuck am I two-gapping for?
And it never has changed since.
Yep, exactly.
So it shows me that Vic, so to your point, why you're high on some of these guys? Well, Xander, some of these guys here fit what Vic's looking for.
Absolutely.
Look,
Absolutely.
I think one of these guys are probably going to pan out. I don't know. I mean, again, like I said yesterday, most of these guys are brought in for competition for the young guys. But if you had to pick a guy that you think is going to be a guy who makes an impact on one of the guys that has started, especially on the defensive side, I think Dylan's going to be a good complement to Barkley if he's healthy. Okay,
I
with
like
the neck,
Dylan.
I like him a lot. Is there a guy on defense you like?
I like Ojulari. I like Uche. I know you've had fun with him and the whole name and everything. I like Uche. I think he's gonna have a chance here. I think he fits what Vic likes in an edge with the speed guy. You know, and me and John have been talking about this, Sills, but the one thing I like that the Eagles are doing, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're all great players, but you can see any spot on the roster where they wanted a young guy to step up, right? Any spot where you lost a guy, right? Milton is gone, so Morrow's stepping up. Josh Sweat's gone, so Jalix Hunt is stepping up. CJ's gone, so Sidney Brown is stepping up. Darius Slay is gone, so Keely Ringo is stepping up. They're bringing in competition, or at least a room of talent for every one of those guys. They're not giving anybody a role, right? If you're Jalix Hunt, you thought you were the starter when Sweat signed. Well, now you got Uche, Ojulari, and all these guys coming in to compete for playing time. You're going to have to up your game. Same with Nolan Smith. You want to be the main guy in that room? You got to be the main guy in that room. You know, you go to the cornerback. Keely Ringo, it's your spot, but Adoree Jackson signed a 3-year, $39 million contract a couple of years ago. That guy can play. So you better show up to camp ready to go. I think that's a really good thing. You see that in the best college programs. I know college is a lot different, but and I'm not saying these guys are as good as some of those guys who you go up against in practice in college because you got the top recruits at those schools. But, you know, I do like that mentality, right? Go in, earn your keep, earn your stripes, work your ass off for it, show up ready. And if you do what we ask of you and you develop your body, develop your game into what we think you can be, you're going to earn time here and you're going to get paid, or you're going to get paid from somebody else if it ain't here.
I want to show you something here again on Roseman here, how he set your future up. Can you imagine? Look at Dallas's future. Where is their future? Listen to this. Not just this year, 32nd pick, 64th pick, 96, 134, 161, 164, 165, 168. From the 160s down, they're all fifth rounders, which are quality picks. But look at 26. You got a 1, a 2, a 3, your own. Then you got the Milton Williams third. Then you got the Reddick third. Then you got a 4th. Then you got the Sweat 4th. Then you got a 5th. Then you got Houston's 5th. Then you got a Becton 5th. Then you got a Rogers 6th. You got your own 7th.
So we have three threes, 2 4s, and 3 5s next year.
Yep.
They are going to get ready for draft day because they are going to trade all over the place. Up, down, sideways, backwards, future picks, everything. They are going to move because they know they need to maximize rookie contracts. So if they like a player and they got to move up a couple of spots in round 2, round 3, round 4, they're going to use those picks. They are going to move to go and get those guys, that they want. Remember, they need rookie guys. So if you see a guy that's a couple spots and you're like, shit, he might go, the Eagles are going to be like, go and get him. We need guys we believe in, on rookie contracts. So they're going to shake and bake with those picks. But you're right, man. Howie just stocking assets right now. And the one thing you love is, you remember we were kind of in this boat a couple of years ago. We had a little bit more premium picks coming off of Carson Wentz, but there was like a couple year period where we had multiple ones. Remember, we had Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. We
traded one of them for AJ.
We traded for AJ Brown, exactly. So they were so good at that. You remember what they did with Devontae Smith, dude? They started at 6. They traded back to 12 like a month before the draft and got another first-round pick. And then they went up to 10 for a third, I think it was, to get Devontae Smith, and they picked up another asset later from Dallas. Like, they are so good at reading the board. That's been one of the best things that they've been able to do on the draft. So with all these picks, dude, Howie's going to cook on the draft day.
God, one more time, Xander. The 1, 2, and 3 are yours. Then you have you have 3 3s with the Reddick and Milton Williams comp picks. The trade pick actually was when you traded Reddick. You got that third. It's in 26. Milton Williams is the comp pick at 3 in your own third. You've got 2 4s, the Sweat comp in yours. and you've got, again, the 5th round. I'll tell you what he does. You can look at the round that he uses a lot of his equity in is the 5th. He's got 4 5s this year, and he's got 3 5s next year. Do you know why those picks are important? Because the board falls into best player available when you're down there at that respected spot. And you can use those 5th round picks to move up the 3s and 4s to move in there and pick up another 3. You got 20 picks over the next 2 years. I mean, bro, let's just say you hit on 35% of them. That means you got 4 starters.
Yeah. And the late picks, dude. I think it's possible.
With that many picks?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, here's the one problem with it, just if you want me to poke a hole in it.
Sure.
They've been excellent. I mean, best in the league in terms of round 1, 2, and 3 in the last 4 years. Excellent. They have been okay. I mean, everybody, it's not like anybody's really, doing that good in rounds 4, 5, and 6. But, I mean, even last year, right? Will Shipley was a solid 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Your 5th rounder, Anais Smith, didn't show shit. Trotter. Now let's see. They need more years. I know these guys. I'm just saying 2 years ago, Keely Ringo in the 4th, that could pan out. We'll see on him. I think that's been pretty good. I mean, you draft a 5th, 4th rounder and he's had a chance to start this year. That's not bad. Tanner McKee at the 6th. Moro Jomo at the 7th is a pretty damn good pick.
It is.
400 plus snaps last year for Moro Jomo, and they were effective. Now he's going to be probably a starting tackle. That's a good pick. 6th round pick, 22 is Grant Calcaterra. That's a pretty good pick. Kyron Johnson, that was a miss. Zach McPherson. Kenny Gainwell is a 5th rounder. That was pretty good. Marlon T and Teron Jackson, Jacoby Stevens are all gone. Patrick Johnson's back this year. So I guess, honestly, not bad. Not bad. Kenny Gainwell's a 5th rounder. Grant Calcaterra is a 6th rounder. Tanner McKee's a 6th rounder. Moro Ajomo is a 7th rounder. Keely Ringer's a 4th rounder. And then last year, we'll see. So not bad, actually. Not bad so far.
You think the majority of these picks, especially in 26, what side of the ball do you think it goes to?
The conventional thinking would be defense because, you got to have cheap rookie contracts over there. But you could also argue, even if you're getting great production out of rookies on defense this year, something is going to shift in the next couple of years because you're not letting Jalen Carter walk out the door. You're probably not letting Nolan Smith walk out the door. You've already paid Zach Bond. You're not letting Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean walk out the door. These are all 2 years away from contract. 1 or 2 years away, all those guys I just mentioned. So even if you hit perfectly on defense and you got to pay all those guys, where are you recouping some of that money on the salary cap? Probably offense. All right. I'm not going to say any names because people will go nuts, but the offense as it looks today is not going to be like that 3 years from now. So do you have to get some young guys on offense that can produce? That could be a fair question.
How about this? This is where I'm going here with that. And that's exactly where I'm at here. You don't believe A.J. Brown's retiring an Eagle, do you?
A.J. Brown? No.
Yeah. No. Okay. No. I'm not putting him on the stove this year, but with all those picks, I'm looking for his replacement next year with all the equity that I have.
I agree.
Okay. Now, you know what that
people are going to have a problem with you saying that, but I don't think you're wrong.
Watch this. You can make it look like this too. You could trade some of those picks and give yourself a 27, 2 first rounders, move out and project that 27's the year I move off them. But I think next year you start the beginning of that because again, like you said, Xander, you got to pull some of that money. The cap goes up 18% every year, but you see how they operated this year. Looking at some of the defensive, the players they got to pay this year or in the future are not on offense.
Yeah.
They're on defense.
Yeah.
That's where they're going.
What I would say to people is before you go to A.J. Brown, I know A.J.'s probably going to, we'll see what happens with him.
I'm not getting rid of Devontae for anything.
What's that?
I'm not getting rid of Devontae for anything. I'm just not getting rid of him.
A.J. Brown's a better player than Devontae Smith.
He is, but you know what? He's perfect for my cap. He's a productive guy. He's a great.
I'm not arguing any of that. I'm just saying if you are going to split the guy,
yeah.
Let's be real here. AJ Brown's a better than
one.
Devontae Smith.
How about this? Do we not agree that Devontae Smith is a better T. Higgins?
I think Devontae Smith is much better than T. Higgins. Yes,
okay,
I agree.
But that's his role. He's
right. That's his role. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But yeah, I mean, you look at it. I mean, who are they going to move on from? But here's what I would say to people: if there's anybody on the team that you think the Eagles, and we're guessing on a lot of this, but I do get some information from the inside on who they view as foundational. That's going to be a key word. You know, people were like, why did they trade CJ Gardner-Johnson? Well, that's the key word. Okay. They didn't identify CJ Gardner-Johnson as a foundational player. He was due $8.5 million in cash, and they said, goodbye. We're trading you for a bag of chips and Kenyon Green. That's what they did. They didn't even care about the return because they cleared that money off the book. So if there's any guy on this team right now, Mekhi Becton, we all loved him. We wanted him back. We thought he was great. They said, we could probably replace that with cheaper. Goodbye. So any person you see on this team right now that you think the Eagles will not identify as foundational, I would say they're probably going to put them on the revolving wall, where they're going to replace him with cheap production, cheap draft picks, and go from there. So look, Deshae brings up a good point. Smitty's homegrown. Maybe they do see him as foundational for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But I'm just saying, anybody that you think, it can be any name. Anybody can come up with names. Who do you think would not be foundational? They're probably going to move on from him.
You know why they look at Devontae foundationally? Look at the contract he signed. It's true. A foundation contract.
And that's so team-friendly. That deal is so team-friendly.
And that's why he's a foundational piece to them, because you know why? He wants to be here. He gave them a team-friendly contract that can allow them to restructure, not have to pay him. I'm on St. Brown, $32 million money. That's why when you look at Devontae, he's perfect for me, because you know why? He wants to be an Eagle. He's here. The contract is conducive to what we're going to be doing in the future. Everything he's doing makes him an asset to me. He's productive.
That's true. It's a good point for you.
He is everything you want in a foot. You know who he is in a way? He's kind of like a Reed Blankenship on that side of the ball. Reed's not going to get top dollar safety money.
Yeah, but Reed was undrafted.
No. But what I'm saying, do you think they look at Reed Blankenship as a foundational piece? I think Vic does.
From what I'm told, they do view Reed as that. Me and John talked about this morning about his contract. I mean, what are you comfortable paying? I like the player, but I don't know. Can you shake a tree in the third round and come up with another Reed? I don't know. I'm just saying. I had this thought.
Why would I want to?
I like Reed. The Eagles like Reed, but we'll see.
I'll give him 8 to 10.
That's what they're talking about. 10 mil plus.
That's what they're saying. 8 to 10.
I mean, you just look at some of the deals, right? Look
For
at
the quarterback in your secondary. I'm in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just saying you could make the argument that the Eagles might not value the safety spot as much as they value, all the other positions they got to pay. You're talking about, think about it. So they're going to have to drop $150 million in escrow next year on 2 guys on the defensive line. That's not including Cooper, Quinion, Jalen Hurts restructure, anybody on offense. That's it. Quit on Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. You're going to have to spend $150 million in escrow. So they're going to cut costs on other stuff to keep cash liquid. It's not about the cap. Howie's fine on the cap.
Let me ask you something about Hurts. You think Hurts takes max money, or do you think Hurts takes team-friendly money in his next contract, in his next negotiation, so that he can keep the foundational pieces around him like Brady and Mahomes have? One thing Brady said about his time in New England, he could have always got the max money, but that would have been at the expense of the defensive side of the football. And Brady was never the highest paid player in the history of the league until he got to Tampa. He made his money in Tampa. He didn't make his money in New England. Shit, the guy that just signed this year signed the greatest contract in the history of the the New England Patriots, and Milton Williams. I mean, they never made money up there. Do you think Hurts is in that conversation where instead of taking the $65 million a year, like Josh Allen did, do you think he takes another like 58 somewhere in there to keep this thing friendly so that you could spend that money for Carter, Smith potentially, or whomever they end up drafting over these next, especially with the draft picks you have? If you're Jalen Hurts, you're in a position where legacy now, do you want the money or do you want, again, $58 million, bro? I don't know if you're all right with that, but if you were able to spend another $12, $13 million on keeping an offensive guard, getting an edge rusher, if you're Jalen, you think he has that mindset? Because he surely showed me last year, I don't have to be the number one passer in the NFL. I just want to be the number one team in the NFL.
Yeah. All right, now hear me out here. Follow me, everybody, because I have a complex answer to this because I'm trying to decipher it in as many ways as I can. The first would be my objective point of view. All right. Jalen Hurts, everything he has done in his career to this point has shown that he walks the walk and cares far more about winning than any personal accolade. So, objectively speaking, I would say Jalen has showed characteristics and traits that would put him down that road like Brady did, right? Take less money. I want to win games. I want to win Super Bowls. I want to be a champion. That's what Jalen has shown to prioritize. All right. So from that perspective, objectively speaking, yes, I could see Jalen Hurts doing that. In fact, I would say based on the way he goes about his business, it looks like Jalen would do that. Now I'm going to speak from an Eagles fan. All right. And I'm going to say, you better do that because if you don't do that, let's be real. You're just making too much money for us to field a great football team around you. You can't field a great team. You can't have a number one overall defense and everything and pay Jalen Carter, pay Nolan Smith, pay all these guys and build a team like you had last year consistently if you're constantly taking top dollar, right? That's the fan in me. Now, here's me. Jalen Hurts, maximize your earnings, my friend, all right? At the end of the day, this is a business. At the end of the day, you have a period in your life when you can earn a lot of money. All right. Dan Sileo played football for a long time. You probably look back at that and like, man, if I could have extracted a couple more peanuts out of that period, I would have done it. This is not forever. You will not be making this type of money for, I mean, God, well, maybe he will. Maybe I'm sure he's a smart business guy, but I'm saying from this period of your life, I would tell him, me personally, if I was his friend, I would say, bro, get every fucking dollar you can.
Hey,
the fan in me says take the cut. The person that I am would say maximize your earnings because you're putting your body on the line, your life on the line, everything on the line to go and do this for a certain amount of time. The objective in me would say I could see Jalen taking a pay cut to try and win as many games as possible.
Funny you say that. Listen to this. So when I signed with Dallas, this was before Jimmy got there. Dallas gave me $150,000 signing bonus. This was 1987. So you can extract whatever that is. The league is way different now. By the way, I signed a $400,000 contract or signing bonus in Tampa when I came out of college. I signed a $2 million deal. So now I didn't get all that money, but I signed a $400,000 signing bonus. So I signed $150,000. Seattle offered me $230,000, and I didn't take it because I didn't want to go to fucking Seattle. They kept telling me, "Hey, come to Seattle. You can be our nose." And I said, "No, man. Tom Landry and Andy Robustelli, they all played together. You know, I'm going to go to Dallas, this and that." Then Landry ends up getting fired. They were going to play a nose defense, whatever. And I was like, "There's about $100,000 that I just let like this." And today's money, that's $1 million with the $150,000. I think it's like $900,000 or something like that with inflation. And so I probably pissed away $800,000 by not going to fucking Seattle.
You might not be talking to me right now if you decided to go to Seattle.
Man, I can't believe that shit there.
Sileo would have a house in Malibu, baby, overlooking the water.
No,
if that happened, man.
No, my aunt's ears are burning right now. Anyway, all right. I wrote down the Big Sil's top 10.
Wait, real quick before we move on. I wanted to get your take on that. Just your thoughts on Jalen, like if you think he should or would take less.
I think he'll take less money because he'll look at it as he's investing in himself.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, because that's what.
How much sponsorship money can you make if you become a 3-time, 4-time, 5-time world champion?
When you start talking to me about that, then I start getting pissed off at that because hey, I earned that. That's part of my shit off the field. Me and you are talking about what I bring to your football team, and I'm doing you a favor, so do me a solid. Remember what rubbed Brady the wrong way at the end of it? They weren't retooling the football team with the money he was reinvesting,
right?
And the thing started falling apart. That's why he left for Tampa, because they weren't bringing in any longer Randy Moss. They weren't bringing back people like Darrelle Revis.
Even on Tom's last contracts, he gave Tampa Bay a discount.
He gave him a discount, but he still made $42 million a year.
Yeah, well,
I mean, he signed a Jordan deal.
It's Tom Brady. And remember, Tom Brady was making a lot of money, but Tom Brady was right before the massive boom.
Yes.
There's always been a boom, but I
Yeah.
mean, Tom Brady made what in his career? 200 million? Jalen Hurts just
350.
got 200 million for one contract, and it was 5 years. Brady played for 22 years.
He made
Think about
350.
what Brady. Think about if Brady started right now and played
Oh,
for 22 years.
but
He'd make $1 billion.
what would you pay Tom Brady right now if he was in the league in his prime?
Oh my God! You'd pay him. You'd pay him what Josh Allen just got. $60 million.
It's okay. Okay. He'd be like a $65-70 million a year
He'd be
guy.
the top guy.
Tom Brady could eventually be like the first $100 million guy per year.
Yeah, see, this is the interesting point about Jalen. You know, Flexen says Brady getting that money now. You know, Flex, this is a great point, because why is Brady getting that money now? Would Brady be getting that money now if he took max money and then won one Super Bowl?
No, he wouldn't be on
He
Fox.
took the discount. They won Super Bowls, and now he's the GOAT. He has the world at his fingertips.
You want to hear a great point to that, what he just said? Do you know one guy right now that's getting nobody is interested in him on being an analyst on TV? Brady just signed a 10-year, $350 million deal, right? Do you know Aaron Rodgers right now has nobody interested in him being part of a network whatsoever?
That's part of him burning bridges too. But yeah, no, you're right. It's a good point.
Okay. I mean, Brady invested in himself to have teams around him so that he could be successful. And you're right. He's making up the back end money now.
Yeah,
with Fox
objectively speaking, like I said, I could really see Jalen doing that, because everything he's ever done or has shown, you know, is that he walks the walk when he says those things. You know, remember his first quote after he got paid? It was one of his best quotes. First quote in his green Gucci suit as he's signing the deal and talking to the press for 255 large. By the way, after he was making $1 million a year. All right. Money is nice. Championships are better. It's a great quote. It really is. It's a great quote. And I think he'll live by that. We'll see, though.
I just got a little bit of insight here from an agent that Tom Poland just sent me a text too, and it's confirmed. The Eagles are having a meeting with edge rusher South Carolina, Kyle Kennard. I love that player. He was so fucking good for South Carolina last year. Man, that guy on the other side of Nolan Smith, he's a fucking great football player. Every game I saw South Carolina play, Xander, he was unblockable.
Who's the kid?
Kyle Kennard. Dude, this guy can play. I don't know where he's listed on where they'll take him in the draft. He might be a second or third round, but I'll tell you what. I watched him play at South Carolina. He was so good. He may have been in line for the SEC Player of the Year.
6'4", 250.
Dude, he can play. I voted for him for All-American. I mean, dude, I saw that kid play. Dude, they got a bunch of guys on that South Carolina team can play. I didn't realize they were in the conversation for the playoff spot there at the end down there with Bama, Miami, and South Carolina. I didn't realize those were the three teams that were at the conversation. Xander, he can play.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it for sure.
He can
play. I don't
play.
know where he's mocked. I was trying to find where he was mocked.
Hey, dude, later the better. Yeah, not everybody has to be a first-round pick. Hey, you got two guys that just left your ball team. One guy signed for 20, the other guy for 26. They were third and fourth rounders.
Right.
Remember, okay? Xander, I wrote this down before we get to some of the supers that we got in here. Guys, by the way, hit the like button. Supers will be read at the end of this segment here. We got Jason Cole at the bottom of the hour. Then we got Dave Wanstedt, the owner of 3 Super Bowl rings.
One of my favorite National Football Show guests is Dave Wanstedt, so stay tuned.
That'll be at 5:30. I wrote down my top 10 NFC teams when it came to rosters. Right now on March 20th. Here they are. Number 10. I got the Chicago Bears. I think they've done a lot of good work. I think
these are Bears, total NFL?
NFC.
Okay, NFC.
NFC.
Hey, damn, you got the Bears top 10?
Top 10 NFC. Guys, hit the like button. 158, not good. Let's go. Let's get it over 200. Number 9. I got the Bucks at number 9. Something about Tampa, man.
I think they're going to be higher on mine than yours. 9, it seems low for me for Tampa.
Jason Light is such a good GM.
Yeah. And dude, they got Godwin back. They got Mike Evans. They got. Yep. I think they're doing a really good job right now, bro. I really like what Tampa has done. Actually,
listen to the hirings too. The last two, Dave Canellis and this guy Liam Cohn, have gone into Tampa, been coordinators. They've all left for head coaching jobs in successive seasons. So between what Bruce Arians, I got to get him on again. Between what Bruce Arians and those guys are doing down there, along with Todd Bowles, they're hiring good assistant coaches.
Right.
I mean, and by the way, would you not agree? That's kind of the kryptonite to the Eagles a little bit the last couple of years has been the way Tampa's played against them. Because you know why? They kind of look alike.
Yeah.
Except for the run game. That's where they lack in the run game against the Eagles. But they're pretty good at spreading the ball around because of those wide receivers and that Wirfs kid at left tackle. That kid's a great player. Number 8, you're probably going to hate this. I got the 49ers here at number 8. I still think they got a good roster.
They have a solid roster. I don't hate that.
I think they're older, obviously. Brandon Ayuk has got to step it up. The Gator wide receiver kid who got shot has got to step it up.
Yeah.
Their defense, especially in the tackle position to save Fred Warner, has got to be better. And now they got to replace Hufanga at safety. So they're probably going to go in the draft safety. I wouldn't be shocked if San Francisco takes that kid from Georgia at the safety position there because they need to address that. Number 7, I got Seattle. I know it's Sam Darnold, but Seattle.
You're not far off. I like Seattle a little bit more.
I think Seattle, I think John Schneider, the general manager there, I think they do a really nice job of winning. Remember, they're coming out of the Pete Carroll era, and look at New England coming out of the Belichick era. Seattle's better. They just draft better. They sign free agents better. They do a better job, man. Number 6, it's kind of the headless horseman. I got the Minnesota Vikings here.
Yeah, their roster's crazy good, though, man.
Right. And J.J. McCarthy, really? That's who you're going to turn the keys over to? You're going to turn the keys over to a guy freshly out of college when you got a Super Bowl championship team? I don't know. I know
you're going to have all 4 NFC North teams on there.
Yeah, probably.
And
I am. Oh, I am.
We play them this year, the NFC North.
I think the NFC North's a great division. Number 5, I got the Packers because of Love. I think what they do and how they add components, I think they do a great job of drafting. Dude, I'll bring you the stat up again. 34 years, they've had 3 quarterbacks take 98% of the snaps. It's unbelievable. I like the Packers. I think the Packers are a good roster. Number 4, I got the Washington Commanders here. I think they're doing it right. I think they're adding veteran pieces until they can get their draft in order. I heard you say something the other day. Well, the Washington Commanders are one of the oldest teams now. They have to be, Xander, because the talent that they've drafted prior to that, Adam Peters knows it was a shit show.
Right.
So what do? You go get veteran guys right now on 1-2-year deals, and you bring those guys in. Shit, that's how you guys were built. You guys brought guys in on 1-2-year deals. You brought them in until you got your draft in order.
Right.
Adam Peters is following the Eagles' blueprint. You need veterans when you have a shit roster. Then you draft better. Get rid of, you replace
I don't love what they did, man.
They had to. Their left tackle stinks. They had to get Tunsil. Who was their wide receiver too?
Dude, it's like a retirement home over there. They signed 10 dudes over 30.
They're only on 1 or 2 year deals, though, dude. And Debo just restructured today.
So you're saying if they better draft good. All right, Adam Peters.
That's right.
Everybody's praising you. You better fucking draft good.
That's correct. The only reason you sign veterans at this rate is because you know your roster's not really talented with younger players. That's why the Eagles have all these picks. Where are you putting those guys? Where's your turnover?
Yeah, I see that.
There's a ton of turnover in Washington to come in the next 3 years. Number 3, I got the Rams. I love the Rams.
I love the Rams. I have we're one off, but I have the Rams.
I love Les Snead, Kevin Demoff, and I love Sean McVay. I think they have it all. I think Kroenke spends the money. I think he's a heck of an owner. I think they've got get this, if you were really going to go the last 5 years, wouldn't you say in the NFC the 2 most successful teams in the NFC have been the Rams and the Eagles?
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
both have won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
They both draft well. They both sign free agents that fit in. I fucking love that sign of
Dude,
Devontae.
Les Snead is, I did a GM ranking a little bit ago. I left him off my top 5. That was a mistake. Les Snead is one of the best GMs in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, and then they turn around and get Devontae Adams in the room.
You're right.
I mean, come on, man. I got Detroit too. I think Brad Holmes, general manager, and I like the head coach, Dan Campbell. Here's the thing. They got to learn how to win big games. I mean, you can't lose an NFC championship game when you have to lead against San Francisco, and you can't lay an egg against a rookie quarterback in your own barn. Dude, you got to win them games. You can't start to look a little like San Francisco when you get in those big games, you nut up. You know what I mean? Now look, I know that injuries play a factor in this, and that's what happened to them. But that's no excuse. The Eagles had injuries. They lost Graham. They lost Mulata for a time. They lost AJ for a time. They lost Devontae for a time. They won a Super Bowl. That's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Injuries or not. And of course, I got the Eagles number 1 there with their roster.
It's a really good list. I think you were pretty close, man. That's a good list.
I got the Eagles 1, Detroit 2, Rams 3, Washington 4, Packers 5, Minnesota 6, Seattle 7, 49ers 8, Buccaneers 9, and I got Chicago 10. Chicago's going to have to show me this year as well.
All right, ready for mine? I did them real quick, so forgive me if I'm off on a couple. I did them while Sileo was talking. Sills, I thought you nailed a lot of them. We had the same on some of them, and I did 11 because I fought for 10. All right, I fought over 10, so I just put in the 11th. And you're going to be a little surprised with where I went with, but this is just where I'm thinking right now. Number 11, I put the Seahawks, and I got them edged out by a team you did not mention in the Carolina Panthers.
Huh.
You might be surprised by that. I think they've made some good moves. I thought Bryce Young took some strides forward this year. I kind of like what their coach is doing right now. I know they're a tough team to believe in. The owner's a dumbass. I know. Maybe this is from my Bryce Young love.
No, I think that game impressed you, what they did against the Eagles.
They were very competitive late in the year last year. Very, very competitive.
Would you not agree that was one of the more competitive games that the Eagles played all year?
Absolutely it was. Absolutely it was. Absolutely it was.
That's a great take.
Yeah, so I got them there, and, they got J.C. Horn under contract, so I like that. 9, I have the Bears. I think the Bears are a sleeper, man. They did everything right the last couple of years except their trenches, and now they focus exclusively on the trenches. I think they're a team that could take a big step forward quick. 9, Bears. 8, I have the Niners. I'm with you. Still think they're a solid team, good squad. What are they going to do with Brock Purdy? Biggest question there. 7, I have the Bucks. I have the Bucks a little higher than you. Yep. I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. I just like the way he plays the position with confidence, with swagger, gets the ball out quick, can fit the ball in the tight windows. I'm a Baker Mayfield guy. I like Baker. Number 6, I desperately want to put this team higher, but I cannot because they don't have a quarterback, and that's Minnesota. I think their roster is up there with the Eagles and the Lions, honestly, but they don't have a quarterback, so it makes me wonder what they're going to be. Number 5,
are you concerned about the health issues of Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave playing the inside?
I think they have a different role in this team, but I'm not overly concerned about it.
Okay.
Number 5, I have the Packers. Number 4, I have the Rams. Number 3, I have the Commanders. Number 2, I have the Lions, and 1, I have the Eagles. So we're pretty close. I mean, you have Rams 3, Commanders 4. I had Commanders 3, Rams 4, which I think is kind of a toss-up. You could argue the Rams there. Packers and Vikings, we had the same at 5 and 6. Bucks, I had 7. You had them, I think, a little lower. Niners, 8, we both had. And then I had Bears 9, Panthers 10.
If you had to pick, and let's just say things roll out perfectly, if you had to pick the NFC Championship game against your Eagles, would it be Detroit, Rams, Washington, Green Bay, or Tampa?
Rams.
The Rams in the NFC title game.
They have everything. They have the quarterback coming back.
Their schedule's not brutal.
They have the coaching experience. That's my worry with the Lions right now. For the first time losing both coordinators.
Yep.
I mean, I like Dan Campbell, but this is uncharted territory. How are they going to prevail? What is Jared Goff going to look like in a new system? So those are my questions there, but I think the Rams are going to be a good team this year, man. I think they're going to be a really good team. Devontae Adams added to that mix. I think they're going to be a solid squad. Let's get to the Supers because we have Jason Cole coming up here. You good with that?
Yeah, let's do it, bro.
Right, JD3 checking in. What's up, JD? He says, I agree with everything on the Rams. One cool thing to see is how McVay and Nick light up for each other and speak so highly of each other. That's very true. Sean McVay is a big Nick Sirianni guy.
Absolutely, and so is Nick. And like you said, too, when they were playing each other twice this past season, how many times did those guys glow over each other's organizations? I mean, I think they mirror one another and what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah. And I really do, man. I think that's the NFC rivalry now moving forward. Washington's going to get in there.
Washington's right there
in the division.
Yeah, Washington's right there. JD3 checks in again. What's up, brother? Appreciate you, man. A couple of super chats today. As always, we appreciate you. He says, got to draft a QB in the next couple of years. Hurts won't age like pocket quarterbacks. Look how hard Russ fell off. I don't know, man. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't see Hurts falling off like an RG3 type of thing. I really don't.
I'll tell you what I do believe in, though, JD3. I'll tell you what I do believe in. I think you should draft a quarterback in every draft because you never know when because you never know what you're going to land on. I mean, look at where you got this Tyler McKee kid. You got him late in the draft, and now you're falling in love with him, and everyone really likes him. I'll tell you what, if you were to put Tyler McKee right now, Tanner McKee on the open market right now, what do you think you get for him? 4? 3?
Nah.
I'll tell you what, you ain't getting a 7 for him. You're going to get more than a 7 for him.
You're probably getting 6.
Oh, I don't know, man. He
played like half a game.
I'll tell you, man, I think he shows a lot of promise. I like him. I don't think that's a 7th round guy. Do you think that guy looks like a 7th round quarterback? You know who's a 7th round quarterback? Nate Sudfeld. That's a 7th round quarterback.
That's true. Anthony Lear says, didn't the Rams lose Cup? Yeah, bro, and they brought back Devontae Adams.
I know, and they got him on the other side.
And they re-signed Tutu Atwell, remember? So now they have Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Devontae Adams. Those are the perfect receivers for Matthew Stafford.
I could see Dallas Goedert in L.A. with the Rams. You put him out there. If I were the Eagles, I'd be pimping him there, or with the Chargers even.
I would not want to send him to L.A. They would be you could argue they'd be a better roster than you.
I tell you, well, these skilled people, they'd be a really difficult.
They'd be right there. The Eagles without Goddard and them with Goddard, plus what they did on their defense and on the lines, their defense was really good, dude. They had Fisk, they had Verse, and they had Kitchens, all rookies last year who played lights out.
Let me tell you what I would do if I were Dallas Goedert. I would demand to be released so I could pick my team.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him now. Kyle Kokorski says, I smell trades. Oh, Kyle, there's trades coming.
With all those picks, you think?
Yeah, there's trades coming. Kim Bose, what's up, Kim Bose? He says, I think we need to draft a safety, whatever round.
See, I disagree with Philly 500. They think he wants them to get
I disagree with
32. I think if anything, it's corner and edge, isn't it? That are the biggest questions.
Yeah, and you need defensive linemen, man. They're gonna draft defensive linemen because once you pay Jalen Carter $40 million a year, you're gonna put the talent around him on that D line is gonna be all cheap talent. Like they're not gonna. Moro Ojomo could have the best season in the world this year. He's gone.
That's right.
He's gone. So after this year, so you're gonna have to keep drafting defensive linemen. They're gonna draft heavy defensive linemen this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all the supers.
All right, man. Alexander, I think still first 2 picks, I'm still going edge and tight end. First round, second round, I still think it's edge and tight end. Have you changed at all?
Well, the only thing is if they move on from Goddard, could they make a move on a guy like a Loveland in round 1? I don't think they'd spend their first round pick on the offensive side of the ball right now. I don't think they would. But remember what we talked about. If you're talking about shedding A.J. Brown or a big money name on offense, insert whoever you like or whoever you'd want to see. Don't you want a guy to get in the wings now and get some development?
Would you draft a wide receiver down there?
Nah, not a wideout. You don't need a wideout, bro. Well, we have Jahan Dotson still for another year. You have A.J. Brown, Devon. You don't need a wideout.
You're eventually moving off him. I don't think there's any great wideouts in this draft either. I don't see. I
No,
don't
the
see.
wideouts haven't impressed me like crazy.
No, I haven't seen that at
Yeah,
all.
me neither.
No.
We'll see what they end up doing, though.
You know what? I can't wait to ask, Jason Cole about how about the Green Bay Packers just crying? Tush push. The tush push. I mean, the Eagles start out 1st and 9 every sequence. We got to stop this. Holy cow. I'm getting Rich McKay on again. We had him on, the chairman of the competition committee.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to get him on again. Unfortunately, Rich is the guy that drafted me. and
I remember the bite. He said you were playing out of position.
Yeah. Well,
that.
again, that's right. That's one of the things.
All right, so let's have a good segment with Jason.
You got it, brother. I appreciate it. But you got the Packer. I wonder if Jason's going to kill this Packer team. Here, let me read it to you, too. Before I get Cole on here, by the way, our NFL Insider, we love it. Here, let me read you exactly what the Green Bay Packers have. And by the way, Rich McKay sent this to me. Just so you know, this is what the Packers say. Rule change. Green Bay amends. Rule 12, Section 1. I didn't know you talk like that in an NFL game. To prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who is lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. I mean, this sounds like something one of those weirdo guys over in England. They call it football, but it's soccer. And that's how they talk. When it's out of bounds, you get the ruck and you get the tush push. Come on, man. This is football. Let me get my boy in here. Jason Cole. Packers are crying about the tush push. Come on, Jace. It's a football play. Which side of the aisle are you on?
On the side of allow the play. I will say this. There's something to be said for pushing a teammate downfield if you don't allow the hip drop. So if you're going to outlaw the hip drop, you can't allow pushing downfield. Okay, because that now all of a sudden we put the defensive player in danger, right? So yeah, that one I worry about more than the tush push. The tush push, I think, is just kind of like it's a fad. One team does it; they're good at it because they got a quarterback who's built for it. I mean, frankly, the players themselves kind of police it. Like Kelsey always said, "I hate this play," and there's only so far you can go with it. From a standpoint of, are your own players, going to tolerate it?
So you think they amend it? You don't think they get rid of it? They amend it where you can't forward progress it with players behind. I'm going to ask Wanstead the question too at 5:30 Eastern time.
I think that you've got to. I don't know that at the line of scrimmage I'm worried about it as much as I'm worried about it downfield when you push a guy downfield, because that all of a sudden is an open field situation where you have a single tackler, or potentially only a single tackler, and he can't use a hip drop tackle, right? If you're saying to him, you can't tackle this way, but all of a sudden you've got maybe a 220-pound running back you're trying to get to the ground, or an A.J. Brown, bigger wide receiver, whatever it happens to be, and then all of a sudden you get a hustling tight end or a hustling offensive lineman, and here comes another 260, 280, 300-pound guy, pushing you back. Like it's now you're now endangering the defensive player. That's the one where I think there's concern. The line of scrimmage stuff, I got a hard time outlawing that. Like, I think that's hustle. But if you're saying take away the guy behind him pushing him, maybe, but it's still a goal line play. It's such a scrum of human beings. Like, how are you going to prevent like a guard from coming over and splattering into the if he gets pushed back, all of a sudden he's now pushing the guy forward. I mean, it's just I got a hard time with the line of scrimmage play changing what exists, because that is man-on-man football.
I know that the Kansas City Chiefs have won multiple Super Bowls in the last 6 years, but let me throw this at you here about the Eagles. I'm going to show you something here, Jace. Have they taken over as the best franchise in the NFL? They got the 32nd pick. You got a 2, 3, 4, and you got 4 5s this year. Next year, check this out. You got a 1, a 2, 3 3s with comp picks. You got 2 4s.
Well, you don't know about comp picks for next year yet. Or you're talking about this year?
I got them. Yeah, they're out.
The comp picks for this year, you're saying?
Next year, 26. They
don't know about the they haven't declared the 20. When did they when they announce that? Was
they're getting a 3rd round for Milton Williams will be a 3. The Reddick.
Well, you don't, no. Whoa. You don't know what you're going to get out.
You're going to get a 3rd for Milton.
Maybe, but remember the
contract.
No. But remember, you think it's not a 1-for-1. That's not how compensatory picks work. The way the compensatory picks is you take the total number of guys that you lose, and you then subtract away the total number of guys that you gain, and you figure out the difference, and you measure it over, how many players plus or minus you go, and then you start awarding picks after that. There's a whole big, large equation. It's not just Milton Williams gets you a 3rd round pick next year.
Oh, I think
that's.
I'm going to, and I think
but I don't know what they've signed some guys in free agency. They've let some guys go, like Slay and Williams and guys like that. So I think they're going to get picks. I just wouldn't guarantee that they're going to get a 3rd, because I'll say this: the NFL hides that. They hide that formula very carefully. Now, the team that's going to get a ton of compensatory picks next year is San Francisco. They're going to get a bunch of picks. But let's just say this: Philly's going to do better, and they're going to do fine because they manage their cap and they let guys go. But the real point is they're drafting well to begin with, so that the guys that they let go get signed by other teams.
Do you believe that they've taken over now as the best franchise in football?
I don't know if they're right up there. It's hard to argue with Kansas City, right? Like, Kansas City's results are what they are. So, and you measure this by Super Bowls, but yeah, the Eagles, they're in that discussion, and just being in that discussion of being the top, 1, 2, 3 teams in the league, whatever it happens to be, like, they're the envy of most of the rest of the league. Like, if you're Jerry Jones, you're looking at the Eagles going, God, I want to be like that. Like that kind of thing.
How about this, Chase? Who do you think takes more of a step back this coming season? The Eagles have lost a shitload of guys. You think it's Kansas City, or do you think it's the Eagles? Because the Eagles have lost 5 starters on defense. Now, like you said, they've drafted well. Kansas City, I mean, if you're relying on Travis Kelce, I don't know. He has,
but they're relying on Jonah Gray as he's gonna keep stepping forward as their primary tight end. They get Smith-Schuster. They get Brown healthy. They get Xavier. If Worthy continues to progress the way you think he's going to progress, where I think he looks like he's going to be a better version of Deshaun Jackson. More consistent version of Deshaun Jackson, not quite as fast as Deshaun, but the same net effect. Like a healthy Brown, Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy, Gray steps forward. You keep Kelce around and keep him healthy for the playoffs. The big concern is what are they doing along the offensive line? Are they going to shore up their tackles enough? I know they got Jalen Moore, he's okay. I mean, I think he's a better right tackle than the kid they had last year. But they still haven't really solved left tackle. They had a rookie from last year that they were expecting was going to be able to step into the role. He wasn't able to do it, and then he got hurt. So they got some big questions on the offensive line that they have to solve. But Kansas City got to the Super Bowl with a really, really bad offensive line last year. Those guys, when they finally went up against a really great defensive line in the Super Bowl, they got overwhelmed. They were able to fake it. So I give Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes a lot of credit for overcoming what was a tragically bad offensive line. So I think they're going to be okay next year, and their defense is still young and upcoming.
And again, too, like you say, it just shows you the greatness of Mahomes with that crappy offensive line. Let me go around the NFL here a little bit. I'm starting to do this now. I'm watching Aaron Rodgers roll around the league now. It kind of reminds me of a Brett Favre, the way he handled his exits the last couple of years. It's like it's drama that no one cares about anymore. I mean, it's like
I'm tired of it.
I really am. I mean, like, does he even have, in your opinion, anything to offer a team right now? Could he help, say, a team like the Steelers? I mean, I agree with Cam.
They need him. They need better quarterback play. The question is he bought into wanting to do it? Like the thing that
then why do I want him if he's not bought into? If he's got to think
the guys with the Jets will tell you, like, he was good in the locker room, but again, he didn't show up for the entire off season. He tried to be part of the game in New York, but he just it doesn't come off as like I'm completely sold out on I want to play football and make the most out of my last couple of years. It's everything has to be on Aaron's terms. And like, come on, dude, let's play football. You're going to realize 5 or 6 years from now that you just wasted wasted the last few years of your career because you were petty. Because you were worried about who was controlling what and what was happening with your future and all this. Like, man, just play football. Buy into it. Be a good teammate. Be the guy that everybody's like excited to be around. And I think that there's some of that. I mean, I'm not sure that it is always playing that out that way in a locker room. I think guys are still enough into it that they accept him and they realize his talent. But the public perception is too much. I mean, look what Cam Hayward said this way. Like, he's just tired of it. Like, come on, man. Like, do you want to play or not? Don't make me beg to get you to come play for us.
Don't alienate me before you get in the building.
Yeah, like, be enthusiastic. Like, come in and say, hey, I'm here. Now, I understand you're waiting on the Vikings. Okay, you're waiting on the Vikings to make their decision. They made a decision. Let's go now. Stop waiting for people to, you're 41 years old. You've had a bad last couple of years. One of them was injury. That's not your fault. That happens. But this last year was tragic. It's not all your fault. The owner was bad with the Jets. But you're just kind of dicking around, not taking care of your career. Like, let's play.
Xander, I don't know if you still have that chart. I wanted to show Jason about the Cowboys. I could not.
What do you want to show me about the Cowboys?
There's a chart. I don't know if Xander still has this chart, but I want to show you this, Jason. You're going to shit when you see this, and I know you know this. NFC Championship droughts. Look at who the New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals, the Seahawks, the pathetic Bears have had more success in the last.
Can you email me this chart?
I will. Listen, look
please,
at this.
Email me this chart because I've got a friend of mine who's a serious Cowboys fan. I'm just going to roast him with this. This is not even like Super Bowl like.
You know what Xander says? Xander goes like this. He goes, "It's now become not even fun to rip the Cowboys anymore."
Oh no, it's all Xander's wrong. Xander's so wrong, man. No. Hey, you will beat that dead horse until it's.
I know you call him the P.T. Barnum, Jerry Jones, but when you see that, doesn't that emphatically tell you this guy is not a football guy?
I never said he was a football guy.
Would you make the argument he's the worst GM in NFL history?
Well, yeah, because this guy would have been fired long ago.
Yeah.
If he was the owner, he would have fired the guy a long time ago. But he owns the team, so he gets to do what he wants.
He's the worst GM.
I understand that. I'm not
football history.
Okay.
Wow. And what I'm and I get it. I mean, I just saw the Celtics sold for $6.1 billion, and I get what it's about.
If the Celtics are worth $6.1 billion,
they're worth 15. They're worth $15 billion.
Like what? I mean, like he just keeps sitting there going, "The price is going up, pal." The only thing the only thing about that price is you only wonder, like, what's it going to be worth when the internet companies buy out all the television companies and television completely goes away. Like, it's going to take 20 years, but when television is completely dead and we've gone completely to streaming, it will die. It will die. It just has to. It's sort of like newspapers.
Yep.
Radio has died. Newspapers died.
Yep.
Television's going to die. Yep. Everything is going to go this direction.
Like, the NFL doesn't get into crap unless they know what the future is. They know where it's going.
Right. They're heavily invested in what's going to happen, and with these streaming services and controlling what is the price that they're going to get for the streaming services. And streaming services are right now competing with the television networks, but it's a competition in name only, because at some point in time, if you're one of these trillion-dollar companies, and this is what people really don't understand, when you take the Netflix, the Amazons, Apple, anybody who controls streaming, Google, those companies are worth trillions with a T. Okay, they're like worth like a combined, I don't know, $5 trillion, whatever they are. Okay, the networks like ESPN, ABC, NBC are worth hundreds of billions. Okay. But billions is a whole lot different than trillions. It's like when people talk about the national debt getting paid off, and this is not political. I'm just saying, like when people say, look at the Doge, they've saved $100 billion. That's a great thing. Absolutely a great thing. But do you realize it's not even a monthly payment on our national debt? It's not even the equivalent of a monthly payment. That's how far in debt we are. Well, the same equation applies to streaming services and television networks. The television networks are going to get bought out someday by the streamers, and that's the way it's going to go.
I want to ask you about Micah Parsons.
Okay.
So you saw what the market was set with $40 million with Myles Garrett. I keep hearing, John McMullen, who is on our network, and he covers the Eagles. He does a great job for us. I mean, he calls them generational. I played in the era of generational edge rushers with Derek Thomas and Lawrence Taylor and guys like that. When I look at him and I see a guy who's played on a defense that was 30th against the run, had no impact whatsoever on a defense. Like Myles Garrett, at least 2 years ago, was on the number one defense in the NFL. He helped and was an impact player in making that a number one defense.
Well, I mean, when you look at Myles Garrett is a big, strong guy who can hold up the point. And
how do you look at Micah? You think he's a generational player?
No, he's not a generational player, but I think he's a damn good one, and you can't find those guys. Like, he's just a rare commodity. So he's going to get $40 million a year. Now, but that's because he's the one who's waited.
And is that because the edge position is a high? Obviously, look at the money that's being paid at the edge.
Right. Well, I mean, the other thing is, and people don't get this, like the growth in the cap is really, it's growing in bigger chunks now because the percentages demand it. When you have a 9% growth in a cap when it's $80 million, that's $8 million, okay? When you have a 9% growth in a cap when it's $250 million, that's 20-something million, right? Like there's a difference there. So that's why you're getting the percentage growth of the cap has not changed that much, but the actual chunks that it's actually worth
18% it goes up, but you're saying that number is bigger because of the amount of revenue that they have.
Well, I mean, it's just the law of large numbers. Like when 9% of $20 million is $1.8 million. 9% of $200 million is $18 million. So it's just a big number. That's why, like, you should always teach your kids. So here's a lesson for you parents out there. Teach your kids about compounded interest. It's a really important thing. It's a really, really important thing.
Yeah,
compounded interest is where you make big ass money.
I thought back when I signed my contract back in the day, I was like, wow, I signed for $2 million. Holy cow, that's really great. I forgot about the income tax. I forgot about the state tax. I forgot about everything. Little did I realize I came back with $2.48 after all that. So, hey, what the hell?
But that was because you bought bar tabs for all your boys from the U.
Yeah, well, it was not just bar tabs. It was also something to do with dances. I'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, well, that goes part and parcel with the U. Okay.
I have to ask you this because you are a Hall of Fame voter, one of the top 50 guys that votes here for this. Brandon Graham just called it a career. 15 years, 2 Super Bowls, Pro Bowl. Had without a doubt, one of the most important plays in Eagle history when he had the strip sack in Super Bowl when they won it in 2017. Had 76 and a half sacks in the regular season, over 80 as an edge rusher.
Yeah.
Just a 35,000 view foot look at him. I said he wasn't a Hall of Fame player. I think he's a Hall of Fame man, and I think he had a Hall of Fame impact on the Eagles. No disrespect. Where do you see Brandon Graham right now? If you were looking at him and looking at some of the, again, you haven't done a lot of research on it. Obviously, he's not on board for a while, but just a takeaway.
Probably a no. I don't want to say that completely. And again, it depends on who's in the group.
But here, remember this too. I brought these guys up. I go, I mean, here's guys that aren't in. Leslie O'Neal has 132 and a half sacks. He's not in. I mean, you go down to Dexter Manley's got 2 Super Bowls. He's got 104. You got Neil Smith, who's got 6 Pro Bowls, and he has over 117 sacks. I mean, there's numerous guys.
Here's your other answer. He's got 1 season with double-digit sacks. Everything else, and that's not, sacks are not everything, but they're a big thing. And so you're getting to that point. You're making that point already. But there's just not a lot of single standout seasons where you say this was one of the best players in the league, one of the 2 or 3 best edge rushers in the league. There is a lot to be said for 15 years, and there's a lot of respect paid for 15 years in the league. Absolutely, that deserves a lot, a lot of consideration. But you do have to have certain numbers that go with it. And you have to have a certain level of dominance. And I think that Brandon Graham was always a great complementary player. He was never the guy who stirred the drink. The guy who stirred the drink was either Fletcher Cox or last year Jalen Carter. That was the guy. Now, when you had a line like in Philadelphia when they had Clyde Simmons and Reggie White and Jerome Brown, now, Jerome Brown, rest in peace, if he had ever played long enough, would have been a Hall of Famer, right? That there's no doubt in my mind that Jerome would have gotten there. And, you had a Pittsburgh line when it had, Mean Joe and Dwight White.
LC.
And LC, only Mean Joe's the only one who's in there. LC was probably a better player than Brandon Graham,
Oh, yeah.
On zero. So I think
so was Clyde Simmons a better player.
Right. So I have a hard time putting in, Brandon Graham over that, but I have an incredible amount of respect for the guy's career. And he was there in big moments. Those moments are not as big as like Lynn Swann is a moments guy. He's not a numbers guy. Even in his era, he was not a numbers guy. But he was a big moments guy, and he's got multiple ones. So Graham doesn't quite have that. So I would say it would take a lot. I'm much more like if you're gonna be pushing for Eagles coming out of this era,
Fletcher.
You're going to say Kelsey and Fletcher, Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey. You're going to then, depending on Jalen Carter's career, depending on how it goes, there's a lot to play out for Jalen Carter. That's another guy in there that you're going to say, okay, is that guy going to end up being that guy?
Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson, certainly. That's going to be a guy. You're somewhere down the line is one of the wide receivers going to put up the kind of numbers that you need. The running back, certainly with a 2,000-yard season, has basically taken all those Giants years and kind of washed them away with that 2,000-yard year. Sort of like, when O.J. Simpson early in his career struggled with Buffalo, and then all of a sudden for about 4 straight years, O.J. Simpson was the dominant running back in the league. Earl Campbell, same thing, for about 4 or 5 straight years, dominant running back. That's what he became. If Saquon does that, you're looking at, is this a Hall of Fame?
Saquon has a shot, even though the 5 years in New York were wasted?
Yeah, he has a shot. He can. I think he can, because that guy's still in really great shape. I mean, We'll see how these, But when you put up a 2,000-yard year,
because I've been saying no because of what happened in New York.
Well, it's no now. It's no today. I'm just saying, like, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we saw what he really can be.
Like, if he follows up with an 1,800-yard year this year, then we're starting to get back in the conversation.
Yeah, we're starting. Yeah, and then okay, how does the next 4 years go? And, can he get through 4 years? But how does the next 4 years go? Do we all of a sudden say, okay, yeah, he wasted his career with the Giants on a bad team. He got to a good team, and all of a sudden we saw what he was. Like that could happen. But to take it back to your original point, your original question about Brandon Graham, I don't see it. I mean, I never say no, absolutely. But the way the format works right now, and I don't think this format's going to continue very long, but the way the format's working right now, it would be really hard to get a guy like Brandon Graham.
You know who I compared Brandon to? I compared him to a guy. I'm sure people in here don't know who he is, and I know you do. My friend Keena Turner. People don't realize Keena Turner had 4 Super Bowl. He's one of the only. People don't realize this. During that era, there's only like 5 guys that have 4 rings that played during that 49er dynasty because they had so many great players. Most of them have won 3, but there's very few that have 4 of them, and Keena's one of them. Keena had 20 sacks, something like that, back in the era where they didn't really throw the ball a ton, but he was such a great football player, and he's a community guy. Everywhere you walk in San Francisco, if Keena Turner's walking down the street, everyone knows that that's Keena Turner. Like, he may not be synonymous in Pittsburgh or anywhere else, but you know who that guy is. When I worked in San Fran and I lived in San Francisco, I knew who Keena Turner was. I mean, I knew when he played. I mean, I throw another guy.
He's an electric guy who is a lifer, who's part of the organization. I would assume Brand's going to do the same thing. Who, they're synonymous with a great era, a coming of age of that team, and that's fantastic. That's worth its weight in gold. I mean, Brandon Graham should never have to ever buy a drink in Philadelphia ever again. Never, ever, ever. I don't know if the man drinks or not, but he should never have to buy a drink, and he probably shouldn't have to buy too many meals, right? Like, that's how he should be treated. Wherever he goes, it's like, hey, Brandon, good to see you. Whatever you need, right? Like, that's how he should be treated. But there's a difference between that and a Hall of Fame.
And again,
he's a Hall of Fame human.
No disrespect, because there's only 300 plus guys that are in that thing. I mean, if you could keep Wilbur Marshall out, and Wilbur Marshall's probably right there as well. Wilbur's got 2 Super Bowl rings, and you want to talk about an intimidating hitter, and you want to talk about one of the guys, when you look at played on one of the greatest defenses of all time and synonymous on that defense, I'll tell you what, maybe I'm more blown away about him because he's from Titusville, and I know him, and we played against him in college. Let me give you a story real quick here, Jace. So it was my
Otis, my man.
I think it was my sophomore year. We go up to Gainesville, and Lonzo Highsmith, we're on the field. I think they beat the pants off us up there, 28-3. We won the national title that year anyway. We went on 111 in a row. We beat Nebraska 31-30 in the Orange Bowl anyway. So we get up there. They're kicking the shit out of us. Only game I've ever been involved in where they beat the piss out of us. That was when Charlie Pell had all those guys. They were paying everybody. All them great players up there. It's all good. I'm not.
Yeah, but you got.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
They had a bigger payroll. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know. All I know is this. All I know is this. He hit Highsmith so hard. And I saw him go like this. And he comes walking off the field. I go like this to Highsmith. I go, what did Wilbur tell you? Because remember, it was him and LT that came out. Like they were like the stars. And I go, what did Wilbur tell you? He goes, he told me he's going to kill me. And I said, what'd you say to him? He goes, I told him I believed him.
Alonzo is not a small man.
No, Alonzo's one of the toughest men I've ever known. My brother, I love him so much. He's now
Alonzo's all man.
Hey, he's a senior executive now with Elliott Wolf up in New England. And I'm like, yeah, I go, what did he tell you? Because everyone watches. Everyone was in awe of Wilbur. He scored 28 points a game in high school and shit in high basketball. He was some freak athlete. And he comes walking off. And, man, he just goes, yeah, told me he's going to kill me. I go, what? Really? What'd you say? He goes, I told him, hey, man, I understand. I believe you.
You're going to kill me. You always know when athletes are at a different level. And I noticed this again last year when other athletes like come to the sideline to watch them, or they come, like they perk up when a guy's in the game or something like that. And I saw that most recently, the kid Mason Miller who plays for the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
So the first part of last season when he's throwing 100, 102 and just, he's mowing down the Yankees. He's going through everybody. I flip on a game and they show him from the third base side because he's a right-hander and the visitors are in the other dugout. Every one of those dudes is on the top step of the dugout. They're all like hanging there just watching Mason Miller throw because he's a dude, man. Like this is gas. Like he's just throwing fire up there. So, and that happens in football. You get a guy out on the, you get some guy who's got like 4.2 speed, and it's like, oh, let's see what that really is, man.
Hey, Jace, I'm playing against Mike Munchak when he was with the Oilers, and this guy's holding like he just ripped. I thought he was going to rip the front of my jersey off, right? Because his hand ripped. I go to the ref. He's standing right next to me. I go, guy's going to undress me. And here's Mike Munchak. Hey, I'm sorry for kicking your ass all up and down the field, but hey, I'll try to be friendlier. I looked over, the ref starts laughing at me. And I'm going like, and I looked over at Mike. We became great friends after that, man. But he goes, hey, wait, hey, ref, I'll stop kicking his ass up and down the field so it'll make him feel better. I looked over, I said, fuck you, man. Man. People don't know the shit that's talked out there, man. It's funny stuff sometimes.
Oh, it's great stuff. I mean, like, I love the stories about guys like Saragusa and Sam Adams, Goose and Sam Adams on that Baltimore team back in, 2000, when they won the championship. Oh God. Like those are some classic stories, man, about just like, and then the meeting, like even it's not even the on the field stuff, it's the meeting room stuff when guys are like, Sam's getting into somebody's crap and the guy's trying to ignore him and Sam's getting mad and then somebody else fires off and, what was it? Rob Burnett told me, yeah, we had to lock the door. We couldn't let Marvin Lewis in. He was the defensive line coach. He goes, because we had to settle some stuff in the room right there. And they're like breaking drywall and like it's just like
every time Ray Lewis would line up over Jeff Saturday, he goes like this: "You ain't paying rent this week. You ain't paying rent this week. You ain't paying rent this week. I'm owning you. You ain't paying rent." He's screaming that at him. And Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, but it's like, come on, man. You got two defensive tackles I got to deal with. I didn't get a chance to block you, Ray. Come on.
You ain't paying rent yet. Jason, let me let you go, brother. Love you, man.
Dude.
Thank you so much, man.
Anytime.
You got it. Our friend Jason Cole, man. I appreciate that very much. Dave Wonstat's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. I see you guys talking wrestling. I want to show you something. I think you're going to dig this here. So you guys like wrestling, right? Okay. Let me see here. Let me show you this. So check this out. This is Big Sills. And I got some wrestling stuff here for you. Here's my championship belt. Right there. Look at that bad puppy. European Junior Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Here, watch this. There's Big Sills. Look at that guy. Look at that monster. King Kong Bundy. Look at him. Look at that. 335 pounds. The bone crusher. Hold on here. I got another one. Here's my contract. I have to post this shit. Here's my ranking. I want to show you this now. Here. So here's the rankings. That's Road Warrior Hawk. God rest his soul. God, I loved him. And here's the rankings. This is the rankings for the top wrestlers in Europe. Number 1, Road Warrior Hawk. Number 2, Rambo. Number 3, Ken Patera. Number 4, Jim Neidhart. Number 5, Haystacks Calhoun. Number 6, Bruiser Masaccio. Number 7, Warlord. Number 8, Bone Crusher Sileo. This is the top rankings in Europe. Right there. I got to post these. Big Sills, one of the top 10 wrestlers in all of Europe. What are you going to do when Big Sills runs wild on you? How you doing? Look at that. Rankings. I'm going to post this and my contract. Yes, sir. Top 10 wrestler in Europe. I wrestled in Austria, Vienna, Bonn, Berlin, Paris, all over Europe. I wrestled. I lived in Europe for a year and a half with the great Otto Wantz, who owns CWA. I got my gear going on again. This is old Sild Wrestling. Here, I think I got a couple pictures of me in the ring, too. Here's another picture of Big Sills. Whoa! That's a 650-pound bench presser there. Hold on here. Big Sills in the... Look at the bone crusher. Look at that, man. That's 335 pounds, 605 bench, 880 squat. Look at that. Off the top rope, too, bitch. Yeah, here you go. There's Big Sills there in the ring in Vienna. I'm in a suit, too. You had to wear a suit. These people are treated like gods in Europe. I'm not kidding. Treated like gods over there. Yeah. Here. Big Sills in the ring, wrestling. That's in Berlin. You know where that is? That's where they held the Olympic Games. In that arena, they had the arena right in the place where they held the 36 games. I'm wrestling in this joint. I look up and I go, holy shit, there's the platform. Yes, sir. Jesse Owens looked up and put his hand over his heart. I'm standing right there on it. I know I've had some psychotic life. How you doing? Big Sills off the top rope. Dave Wannstedt's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. The Bone Crusher. I wrestled in the Tokyo Dome. Yeah. Antonio Inoki. Some of you guys might ever know. Big Sills knows Goldberg. We played football against one another in the World League. He was a Georgia Bulldog, played for the Rams. Hey, Big Van Vader's my boy. Holy cow. Vader helped me in Japan. Yes, I wrestled at the Tokyo Dome. How you doing? I looked around. There's Antonio Inoki. He wrestled Ali. Yes, I've had an interesting life, to say the least. What was your finishing? The power bomb. Vader, Leon White, one of my favorite people on the planet. What a great guy. He played for the Rams, and believe it or not, Big Van Vader, he played at Colorado. He went to school. He played in the old Big 8. And he went to school at Colorado. And then, of course, and by the way, we had 3 Hurricanes turn into wrestlers. Lex Luger, who's Larry Fole, and Rock and Big Sills were all 3 wrestlers that ended up winning championships. I had the junior heavyweight European Wrestling Championship for about a week. And then they gave it to some sort of Austrian guy. I couldn't stand him. I hated him. I punched him in the head after. And then I went to Japan and wrestled that. That's what I'm going to do. When I see M. Reyes, I'm going to put him in a headlock. Right there, Reyes. I'm going to break it out again, and I'm going to put you in a headlock. And we're going to find out what kind of bullshit you're going to talk when Big Sills puts you in a headlock. Are you kidding me? M. Reyes, I can't even jump over a stack of pennies now. How you doing? Sills, what do you think of Ohtani against the Cubs in Tokyo? Ohtani's the best baseball player I've ever seen. Just the best baseball player. I mean, that includes Barry Bonds. And that includes Ricky Henderson. Absolutely insane. M. Reyes, I'm coming for you. Gonna get them all up there, baby. Oh, man. Hey, he's a really great wrestler. Okay. I see him from time to time. Yeah, Ken Patera was my guy, though. And so was superstar Billy Graham. Billy Graham just died a couple years ago. He lived in Phoenix. I love that dude. The wrestling guys, I ranked them. My top 3 dudes. Roman Reigns, who follows me on Twitter, loves me. I love him, too. I should try to get him on. Corey Rhodes, Dusty's kid, I think. And Kevin Owens. I don't know. Reigns is the best. He's the best right now. Yeah, but this guy, Ron Simmons, was, hey, get this, Tim. Ron Simmons was my first, before Leroy Selman, was my first college football hero. When I heard he benched 500 pounds and he played nose guard at Florida State, I'd never heard of Florida State. I mean, living in Connecticut, I never heard of Florida State. I didn't know anything about South Florida football, like Florida, Miami, Florida State. I had no idea about any of that down there. My shit was all Penn State, Notre Dame, Maryland, Boston College, places where I'm from. Sorry, no Temple. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I didn't, but Ron was the first guy. If I'm not mistaken, he's one of the very few guys that had his jersey retired, number 50. I wanted to be him. I ended up bettering him, though. Okay. Hey, Dusty was great, but a guy by the name of Cowboy Bob Orton, he was the guy, along with Ole Anderson, trained me at the Powerhouse in Atlanta. I was a WCW guy. My wife will tell you, get this, they signed me right out of football. I heard John McMullen talk, a lot of football guys, they recruited us. So Cowboy Bob Orton and Ole Anderson came to me, and they go like this, hey, you want to wrestle? I go, well, he goes, we know you had amateur wrestling, and I was really great at it. I told you before, I was recruited by Iowa. That doesn't mean I was going to be the top heavyweight wrestler, but I went to WCW. They gave me $4,000 a week to train in Atlanta, and I did it for about 4 months. Then I wrestled in Athens. I wrestled a couple times in Atlanta. Then they sent me over to WCW with Otto Wantz in Europe. And I wrestled in Europe for a whole year. Then I went to Japan. My grandfather was the one who got me out of it. I'll tell you what, John McMullen said something and it's true. I have never been more beat up in my life wrestling than when I played my 20 some odd years in football. Okay? I have never in my life been so beat up. I think where I'm at now, where I, kind of got some pains now, I think that has a lot to do with the wrestling. Man, it was the toughest shit I ever did. I mean, those ropes, coming off the ropes, doing those bumps, doing all the sequences, it ain't easy. I've never done anything harder in my life than wrestling. Hey, when people go like this, it's fake. Well, I don't know about fake. Maybe the whole setup is, but hitting them bumps, that ain't fake. I have never in my life been more injured, okay, than wrestling. Football, I wasn't hurt that much. Wrestling, that shit hurt. JBL, best wrestler ever. No debate. The best wrestler of all time, in my opinion, who could do it all. I think it's Hart. Bret Hart was exceptional. Did all the bumps. Okay. I would say, dude, he was really great, Bret Hart. Who's the crazy guy? Rowdy Piper was the best showman of all time. Rowdy was so good, taught me so much on presentation. God, the guy who took the best bumps, Cactus Jack. I'm surprised he's still alive. I can't believe Cactus Jack is still alive. Dude, that guy did so many insane bumps that even Vince McMahon, he used to gag on his bumps. He'd jump off the top of the steel cage from the top of the arena. I can't believe that guy's still alive. McFoley was insane in his bumps. Bret Hart was great. Hogan was a great showman. Rowdy Piper was a way better showman than he was. So many good ones. Jake the Snake, we've had on the program here. Jake's a friend of mine. We've had Jake on, Xander, a couple times, 2-3 times? We've had Jake on. Just great. All right. Dave Wannstedt's going to join us at the bottom of the hour here. Don't forget our great friends at Morgan & Morgan. Tell you this all the time, folks. If you guys are looking or if you've ever been hurt, this is your place to go. The number one injury law firm in America is Morgan & Morgan. $20 billion is their resume when it comes to getting rewarded for making sure insurance companies don't take advantage of you. That's what they recover for families across America with their thousands of attorneys from coast to coast right here in PA. Client telling you about $650K initially that an insurance company wanted to offer a family. No way. They got $26 million for that family. Or a family down in Florida. Talking about a family that was offered $350K. No way, man. They went in Morgan & Morgan and got $12 million in recovery for that respected family. That's what we're talking about here. If you're ever injured, please use my friends Morgan & Morgan. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. That's FOR, thepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sills sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica, who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sills National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Dave Wannstedt from Fox Sports is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 2026 free agents that the Eagles will have. We'll take a look a little ahead, and then you combine that with draft picks they have. I think Jason's wrong on the comp picks. The Eagles are going to get a third for Milton Williams. They've got the third from the Reddick trade. They're going to get at least a fourth from Sweat, a fifth from Becton, and I think they're going to get a sixth for Rodgers. I disagree with what he said. So we're going to go over that a little bit. But I do want to say one thing about my friend, Pat Riley. I was down in South Florida talking sports on WQAM, and I got a chance to know Pat Riley. Pat Riley had his birthday. Champion as a player, 72 team he was on with Wilt. 5-time head coaching champion, 4 with the Lakers, 1 with the Heat. 3-time coach of the year in the NBA. 2-time NBA executive of the year. You could make the argument he's the second most important NBA person next to Jerry West that's ever lived. Jerry West was a great player. Jerry West was a great executive. Jerry West was everything. Was sensational, was just absolutely great when it comes to being an executive. I loved Pat Riley, and I loved talking to Pat Riley when I was on in South Florida. Mm-hmm. All right, it's funny. I hear people talking all the time about the importance of having a guy like a Jordan Davis or having a great defensive front, and how important it was in the Super Bowl. I'm going to ask Coach Wannstedt here in a second on what he thought about first, because I want to walk him back to that February 9th game. I'm going to throw a stat at Coach before he comes on. They didn't blitz once in that Super Bowl against Kansas City. Remember what Coach Wannstedt said? His words became poetic when he said this about Vic. Remember what we asked him? I said, do you think Vic's going to have a good scheme that's going to propel the Eagles to being a competitive team for the Super Bowl. Remember what he said? He said this: it's not going to be Vic's scheme that will fail. It will be the players that will fail if that happens. Look at the players that he developed in that scheme. Same thing Coach Wannstedt did. Coach ran a 43, whether it was the Canes 43 or it was the Cowboy 43. You know what he did? He believed in pressure from the front four and controlling the football game with the four guys in front. That was our philosophy. Played a 3 and a 1. You did the tilt, you did the shade. It was a 3 to 1. You slid the fronts, and Coach did that all the time. But he believed in controlling the game with the front four. Coach tells the story every time he's on here. You know, Jimmy, maybe we should go to the 34. And you know what Coach ended up knowing? It wasn't the players that weren't there in Dallas yet. Or, I mean, it wasn't the scheme that was in Dallas. It was the players that weren't in Dallas yet. That's what ended up propelling them to win all those Super Bowls when Coach was there and they were installing that defense. I want to get his thoughts. Let's bring in Coach Wannstedt now, owner of Super Bowl championships, as a player, a national title, also as a coach with Jimmy Johnson, a national championship down at Miami with me. Coach, what'd you make of that performance when you saw the what did you make of that performance, Coach? Coach, can you hear me? Let's see if we can get Coach here. Coach, can you hear me? See if we can get that back up here. Hopefully we can connect here and see if we can get him up here because, again, Coach's words were poetic when he said, hey, that scheme is going to be, again, the issue that is going to make that football team great. The players, though, have to execute this for it to be a success. And that's kind of what he did. Hopefully here we're going to be able to connect.
I got it.
All right. There you go, Coach. How you doing, brother?
I had you muted. I don't know why, Danny. I listen to your shows all the time. I just said enough. I think
Coach, tell me this, though, for you. I mean, let's take you back to February 9th. They didn't blitz one time. And you said it, Coach, right before the start of the season. You said, look, Vic Fangio is going to bring a great system in.
Yep.
It's just going to be all about the players executing and excelling. How surprised were you in what they did, not only throughout the year, but especially what they did to Kansas City in the Super Bowl?
Well, my first thought was if someone's sitting there with an early pick and there's a great defensive lineman on the board or a great offensive lineman, it should be an easy decision now. You take those defensive linemen. And you know, we know Kansas City, how good their offensive line is, and they couldn't hold up. And so that was the first thought that came to my mind. The second thought was, you know, in support of Vic, and you said it, Danny, when they hired him, you and I talked on this show, and I was a fan of his. The thing that impressed me more than anything is everybody's into this. It's a young man's game. It's on and on. Well, the Eagles defense, you know, with what was his name? You know, Mitchell, the rookie corner.
Quinion Mitchell.
The Gene, the safety, nickelback, whatever he played. I mean, you know, even Jordan. I was just looking at their depth chart before we came on here. I mean, the guys that they had on that defense, you know, obviously Jalen Carter. I mean, was there a lot of talent there? But these guys are only 1, 2, 3 years in the league. So they're young players. And for Vic to come in and put his scheme together, which we knew would happen, but then develop these players. And I love the non-blitz. I mean, you said it in the pre-show there, Danny, that I used to have to force myself to pressure about 15% of the time in all situations, whether it was third down, whether it was first and second down, whether it was red zone. You know, I felt like if we didn't do it 15% of the time, that, you know, we weren't going to give the offense anything to work on. So I kind of forced myself to do it. And a lot of times, we would have the blitzes in every week in all situations. We would work on them, as you know. We'd work on our pressures with, 5-man, 6-man, 0, bringing everybody. And we ran them from time to time, but not only when we really, really had to. And so I loved it. For them not to pressure and play coverage and just have Patrick Mahomes running for his life the whole game. I mean, it was a great game plan. But and you know what else too? That, and we used to always use the word "don't get bored."
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, we put in that before the Eagles drafted Buddy Ryan drafted Jerome Brown. Part of the deal was Buddy was the head coach. He just got the job at the Eagles, and Buddy came down to Miami. And I said to Jimmy, "See if he will spend some time. I want to learn this 46 defense." Buddy spent all day with us. He worked Jerome out, did what he had to do with him, and we practiced it like a madman in the spring. And you know what? We never used it till the Florida State game, the last game of the year, because we didn't need it. We did not need it. And and I remember, I'd say to Jimmy, "Boy, this might be the week to turn him loose." And he says, "Don't get bored. I mean, don't do it just to do it, So Vic didn't get bored in that Super Bowl. He let the players play. He left them play fast, and obviously they got the results that they wanted.
Coach, I'm so happy you told that story because I got a picture of me and Buddy down when he came down in '86. He got that job. That was his first year, I believe, and he spent all that time with you. And then I remember Butch grabbing us, and there were me, Stubbs, and Jerome, and Hawkins, and I think even Russell came in. He was a young pup at the time, but we sat there with Buddy, and Buddy was showing us about leverage in the 46, and he was watching our defense. He goes, "Well, shit, you guys don't need to really do a lot of pressure. You guys bring pressure yourselves." He goes, you don't know how valuable that is. And so when he came down, him and Jimmy were on better terms at the time, I guess, because he was really, really helpful, man. He showed us again what kind of showed me a little bit about what McMichael and how we played with leverage, and he showed Jerome a lot. I mean, I think even Norman Ramey was down there a little bit with us too when Norman was there, because Norman, I think we always knew that Jerome was going to go to the Eagles. But yeah, man, I mean, by the way, Coach, I see a lot of Jalen Carter. I see a lot of Brown in Jalen Carter, just a little bigger kid, but you see the same thing with Jalen too. You see a little Jerome in him.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's and you always want those defensive linemen like yourself that were playmakers in this. If you don't have playmakers in this scheme, and watch what Matt Eberflus does now when he's at Dallas, because I spent a lot of time with him. I thought he's a heck of a defensive coach. Things got away from him. His offensive coordinator thing was a mess here in Chicago. His end of the game decisions were a mess here in Chicago. But I'll tell you what, the guy's a smart, good defensive coach. And I met with him when he first took the job, and I said, tell me about what are you? And he says, it's a combination of what you did at Dallas and what Tony Dungy did at Tampa Bay. The Bucs were rush 4, but they were more cover 2, Tampa 2, and we were more quarters. But we were all about, rushing you 4 guys up front, mixing in a little coverage, changing it up. And they were all about Sapp and Simeon Rice and those guys. I mean, it was philosophies were the same. The coverages were different.
Coach, the Eagles have lost 5 starters off that team. Same scheme. Now they're counting on the young players. They had a lot of veteran guys. They had to move on because of the cap. And I said this, you tell me if I'm wrong and how I looked at how you guys built the Cowboys. I told everyone this. I said, you should have seen the amount of free agents that Dave and Butch and Jimmy would bring in for the first 2 years, 3 years down there. What they did was they knew that they didn't have the talent. No disrespect to Coach Landry, but he had old talent on the football team, and you guys had to immediately get an injection of great players there. So what you did was you brought in veteran guys. It's kind of what they've done this year, and they drafted. Were those guys brought in for the younger guys to compete so that you could get a better sense of what your younger guys were and who you drafted? Because, Coach, if they couldn't beat out the guys you brought in off the street, weren't those kind of the guys that you weren't sold on moving forward? Because that's kind of what I'm seeing now, that they've got to replace Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, their swing corner in Isaiah Rodgers and Oren Burks, who did a really great job for them in the playoffs. All those guys got big contracts. How do you go about retooling a football team, especially if you're Vic, with some of the young talent that they do have on the team?
Yeah, the key for Vic, even when he was with the Niners, with Harbaugh, with Jim out there way back when, they never pressured. I mean, very little pressure. And, 5 man maybe at the most and mix it in. So his philosophy is his philosophy. That's not going to change. So if you're him, you're probably looking at this thing saying, the only way this defense works, the first replacement's got to be the guys up front. I mean, they could get the greatest linebackers in the world and the greatest secondary guys in the world, but if they can't get there with those 4 guys up front, they're going to have a problem. So that's, in this scheme, just as in ours, that was always the priority. How can we better our defense? Let's start up front and work our way back. So, I mean, I'm sure that's what they're looking at. Where are we at as a defensive line? Then once they solidify that, then they can move to the linebackers and then secondary.
So in your opinion, Coach, how they're going to build this thing and replace, they're going to build from front to back. They're not going to build from back to front. I mean, last year they had Cooper to Gene, but like you said, if you don't get pressure and those front 4 guys can't stop the run, I was telling people about Jordan Davis, and I said this, what people don't realize about a nose coach, he's not real productive. That's a problem for me because you guys taught me, like I've told people, I had 100 tackles one year. I mean, those guys demanded that you were a playmaker, that you made plays. You guys wanted guys always around the ball. You always told us, I'll take a guy who maybe gets an 80% in his grade, but if that guy's making 10 tackles a game, I'm going to take that guy all the time. And when I look at Jordan Davis, Coach, the less he plays, the better. And I say this because when you keep teams and you win first and second down and you keep teams in third and long, that guy may not be a 3-down player, but that guy did his job, didn't he? And Jordan Davis, he's got a contract extension because my number one goal is, as a front, is to keep you in third and long. If you're in third and long, we're going to win that game, right, Coach? And that's kind of how you have to look at Jordan Davis, because they had so many teams a year ago, including in the Super Bowl, Kansas City, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 9. That's why that nose tackle, especially in the 34. Coach, if you don't have the 34, you can't play a 34 if you don't have the nose.
No question. And I remember, I think it was Cortez Kennedy asked me, he said, Coach, you want our defensive line this aggressive? I said, yes. And he says, well, how aggressive? I says, play the run on your way to the quarterback. So try to visualize that I am coming off and I am going to get that much penetration. And obviously, if it's a running play, we play to run. But, that's the only analogy I could come up with. He says, how aggressive do you want? I said, play the run on your way to the quarterback. That's how aggressive we want you coming off the ball.
I love that, because when you used to call the defense, you would constantly call these gap crashes for us. And what we were doing was, the gap crash was a great example of that. You would call that on 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. You didn't care when it was, because you had players up front that were able to adapt into that gap crash, turn it into a pass rush, and we would switch on it because we always had our backside on that. But that was a famous play of yours, was running that gap crash, because you would run that. You could be 1st, 2nd, or 3rd down. It didn't matter. You wanted us getting back there and getting penetration and knock those guards off.
And the other thing that we liked about that is we knew you guys were going to get into the backfield, get penetration. And if it was a running play, the ball was probably going to be kicked outside. And once the ball got kicked outside, now our speed, with our 2 outside linebackers, we were always playing quarters, quarter, half. So we had safeties ready to fill inside out. and it was tough to get to the edge. If you were running sideways on our defense, good luck.
Yeah, nobody got outside on us. I mean, that was the only time I've told you it a couple times. The only time coaches ever got pissed off at us. See that jersey hanging behind them? I'll never forget that day, man. I'll just remember the tables flying up and down. You son of just leave it. I'm going to leave it there, Coach. Let's get into Chicago. Coach, they've made a lot of moves. And a year ago, I kind of wasn't a fan because they built the team from the outside in. They went out and got perimeter guys.
Yep.
And they kind of forgot, you build football teams from the inside out. And this year they kind of went inside out. They went and they traded for Tune from Kansas City. They're picking up more guys in the offensive line. If you're Caleb Williams, you've got to be exceptionally happy about what they're doing, especially in that offensive line. In your opinion, you think Chicago is one of those teams to keep an eye on this year?
Absolutely. I mean, their defense fell apart when Flus at the end, had to turn the play calling over. I mean, they were a lot better the football team than what they ended up playing in their performance. But I would say this, that, before, when you start game planning, our starting point was always, regardless if we had all pros in the offensive line or we were just average, we would always say, what can the offensive linemen do? What can they do? As far as protection, what can they do as far as the run game? And once we came to the conclusion, okay, this is what these guys can do to be successful, then we kind of added the running plays along with that and the play action passes. The Bears, they didn't have play action pass last year. And majority of the stuff was in the shotgun. I had a long talk with Norv Turner a couple of weeks ago, and he said, one of the best things for his career was that he was under center. And he really didn't like the gun until it was third down and long. And he said the reason, and think about this, and then I called Tony Wise, and we kind of had a little group chat because we were talking about Caleb Williams. And Troy made the point. He says, Dave, if we call it a three-step pass, let's use that for example. 1, 2, 3, the ball was coming out. Michael Irvin, our receivers, Jay Novacek, they knew 1, 2, 3, they better be turning because the ball was coming. So the pass routes were tied in with that. And then Tony said it made our lives easy because the offensive lineman knew 3-step. Big difference on how I'm going to block a defensive tackle as compared to a 7-step. 7-step, oh boy, I know where the quarterback's going to be. I better be set long. My technique better be perfect. I better be banging guys in there because he's going to be holding the ball. Where 3-step, man, you just don't get beat inside. Quick set on them, get them slowed up, and the ball's going to be gone. So by being under center and doing everything off of that system, Troy said that it made, and Tony Wise agreed, that it made the offensive line's production better. The quarterback was coming on, and the receivers knew where the routes were. And Troy says, you get these young kids and they drop back in the shotgun and they know the coverage and they know the play, but they're standing back there and they're waiting for the route to develop, and the linemen are he's not a fan, and he backs it up by legitimate stuff. And the last thing he said too, besides the timing of the whole thing, he said the timing, it helps the receivers, it helps the offensive line. And he just thought that the quarterback seeing it, and I never thought of this angle. He says, when I'm under center and I take that snap, I walk up, I'm looking at the safeties, the linebackers, I'm reading the defense. I take the snap, I'm going back. Where's my eyes the entire time on the defense? He said, these defenses are tricky. Split-second disguises. So now I'm in the shotgun. What does the quarterback have to do when he's in the shotgun? The first thing he's got to do is get the snap. And, he's looking, even if it's a perfect snap, he's looking at it. A lot of times it's here, down there. Where's his eyes? His eyes are on the football. and that safety rolls from 2 to 3 or 3, whatever it is, man, I'm telling you, he made a believer out of me by talking, the under center scheme versus the shotgun.
I got to tell you, that's one of the things they did different with Kellen Moore this year with Jalen, was they put him under center more, Coach.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
And again, like you said, the running game picked up from a year ago, plus Barkley obviously adding a more skilled guy. So you think for a quarterback, you're looking more down the field and you're going to drop into your progressions a lot easier under center than you are from shotgun, because the shotgun, like you say, you have to be hyper-focused on first receiving the snap. So for you, your eyeballs are looking downfield from the time you get the ball from center to getting back to your steps, whether it's a 3, 5, or 7. You think that you have more of an understanding of reading the defense better under center than you do under snap. And Troy thinks that too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the other thing too is, and this is the way everybody does it now. So your shotgun with the back offset. The first time that we really was concerned with defending something like that was in that Fiesta Bowl at Miami, Danny, against Penn State. And I think their running back was D.J. Dozier, great player, first-round draft pick.
Yep.
And they did some stuff, runs with him, out of the gun, with him offset. And I remember us coaches, me and Butch and Campo and everybody sitting there saying, man, how's this guy going to get the ball? He's going to go to the side. It's real tough to get that thing and wind it all the way back. So we adjusted our defense to take away the front side and try to kick it outside that direction, thinking it was going to be real tough for him to cut back on our defense. We were too good, as you know, you were part of it, and we were too fast. And I remember I had LaShawn McCoy at Pitt, and Shady was a great player. I mean, he broke some of Tony Dorsett's records in 2 years.
Player. Yep.
And he's the all-time rusher for the Eagles right now.
Yep.
Him and I still converse back and forth. He invited me, wanted me to come up to Philly for the game when they do, induct his jersey or whatever they did.
They retired his jersey.
And I was working, I couldn't make it, but we were. I tell you what, we did under center and we did both at Pitt, but we were mostly under center. Henry Hanoski was our fullback. The Heine who played for the Giants and won a Super Bowl, big fullback. So we were old school. And that's just what we did. We believed in it. And I remember we were playing Notre Dame, and we still had all the runs out of the shotgun. God, Shady just, he says, Coach, I just can't. I have a tough time seeing it as quick and stuff. But we did it. Okay, he was talented enough that he could do it. So we get in and we're playing Notre Dame. The longest game in the history of Notre Dame football, Danny, for Notre Dame and for Pitt. It went into 4 overtimes. The sprinklers came on because they were on a night timer. That's how late the game went, 4 hours and something. And they finally miss a field goal, and we get the ball. So we make a few yards, and we need about 3 yards to give our field goal kicker a chance to make it, okay? So I call a timeout and call the offense over, and I said, Tony, what do you like? Matt Cab was my offensive coordinator. What do you? And they said, Tony's going to say 36 power. He ain't even going to think twice. and so I says, okay, guys, it's 36 power. We're going to run it. And I said, Shady, that tackle's going to block down. We're going to collapse that nose. You got to push that thing up in that AB gap as hard as you can and get us 3 yards. Don't look you just go as hard as you can. Keep your lip. I got it, Coach. We line up, I formation. Shady takes 2 steps and goes right to the sideline, right outside. Their safety comes up. He makes him miss. He ain't going to tackle him in space. He gets down to about the 10. We kick the field goal and win. I said, Shady, come here. After the game, everybody's fired up. Great win for the program at Pitt. And I said, Shady, why the hell did you run outside on 36 power? And he says, Coach, I was in the eye. I looked. Nobody was out there. Smart backs run where nobody's at, Danny. But my point was he was in the eye, and he took 2 steps and Notre Dame ran something where they were closing that down, and he could have maybe pushed it for a yard or two, but right away he saw that, he had that vision and saw that backside cut, and he went right out the back door. But I said, "Why'd you run out there?" He says, "Because nobody was out there."
Coach, I got to tell you a story. You reminded me of something that I don't think I've ever told you. So the first play of the Fiesta Bowl, I remember we're in the huddle, and it comes in. We're blitzing. I went, "What?" Jerome looked over at me. We're sitting at each other. We're going like, "What are you talking about? We're blitzing. This is bullshit. What do you mean He goes, "We're blitzing." Winston goes, "We're blitzing." And I sat there and I'm going like, "Okay." We never, ever blitz. And so like I remember I make the sack on the first play of the game. I sacked the guy for a 15-yard loss. And I mean, because the two ends came up, they ran past him. That guy Schaefer ran right into me, and I annihilate him. Bang, put him on his back. I jump up, and I'll never forget. Jerome looked over at me. He goes, "Talking shit on Dave? Look what he got you. The first play of the game, 100 million people watching us. You put the guy on his head." And I go back to the huddle going, "Holy shit, it worked."
You know what I remember of that game is it was after the first play, and our defense obviously was geeked, as you just described. We hit them in the backfield, and back then you could take your helmets off.
Yeah.
And I was in the press box, and I'm looking through the things, with the blocking schemes and stuff, and all of a sudden Jerome jumps up and rips his helmet off, and he had that Rambo bandana around his head, and he had the eye black across. And I remember Jimmy was on the phone. I said, "Holy shit."
Yeah. And he gave a salute. Don't you remember he gave the salute?
And he gave a salute to our bench. I says, "Holy shit. Hold on to this one. Here we go."
Oh yeah. Coach, the thing that aggravated me the most was
127 yards total offense they had. That record held at the Fiesta Bowl for about 15, 20 years for the least amount of yards. That's run and pass combined. I think
Coach,
they have 7 or 8 first downs?
No, get this. I gave them one. I jumped off sides. They gave
one.
7.
They had one by penalty.
One by penalty. We gave up 7 first downs and 129 yards in total offense. And I remember we're walking.
And they
over.
They had great players. I think Wisniewski.
I played against Wisniewski.
They had guys that played a long
time in the NFL
too.
Wisniewski was on that team. I became friends with Steve later on. I remember going back to the huddle. I'll never forget going into the locker room and Jimmy looking over at me and he goes, "You guys couldn't have played any better." I mean, I was like, I looked at them and I said, "Man, how in the world?" Coach, that loss to me to this day, I still look in the mirror about that and I still get reminded about that. I think that made you guys better coaches. Don't you think that loss that night made you guys better coaches?
Almost got us all fired, but yeah, it made us better coaches.
No, we almost got you guys almost fired.
I'm saying. Yeah. I'll tell you, the president and everybody would have been a lot easier on Jimmy and all of us if we would have kicked their tails. You lose a game, and with the Army fatigues and everything, now they got the hammer. They come after us,
Yep, absolutely, Coach. It's always great catching up with you. I love the picture you sent too, man. And I can tell everybody, you guys are the same people that you were when I was 19 years old and where I'm at right now in my life. Thank you so much, Coach. I love you very much, and thank you again for doing this for me.
All right, Danny. Love you too, buddy. Be safe out there.
You got it. That is my friend Dave Wannstedt. What a great coach he was. What a great time we had at the University of Miami. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure you check my great friends out at Morgan & Morgan. Again, if you're ever injured, folks, the number one injury law firm in America is Morgan & Morgan with over $20 billion recovered for their clients. Make sure, folks, you check out my friends at Morgan & Morgan with thousands of attorneys from across the country. Make sure you do it. If you're injured ever, check out John Morgan and Ultima Morgan's Morgan & Morgan. Again, for more information, go to forthepeople.com/big cells or pound law 529. That's FOR. thepeople.com/big cells or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Cell sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
They're carving them up, and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sills. That was a fun time being around Jimmy Johnson and Dave Wannstedt and being around great coaches like that. What made those guys so good was that no matter what level they were on, you know, just listening to Dave, that's what probably made that offense better was how about that little nuance he added about Jalen under center? Jalen was more under center this year than any time I remember. And what happened? The running game was better with him under center than it was with him in shotgun. And Aikman says that quarterbacks, you're constantly looking downfield when you're more under center than when you're in the shotgun. It makes a lot of sense. I never looked at it that way, but that's correct. And when you just are around guys like that and you listen to them talking about the little nuances that these guys all do. Again, when you're around a guy like Dave Wannstedt, Jimmy, and Butch, and all those guys who, no matter what the level was, the success they had at both levels was just insanity. I mean, Dave Wannstedt won a national title as a player at Pitt also. Then he would win a national championship as a coordinator. Then he would win a Super Bowl as a coordinator with Dallas. So every level, same with Butch. Jimmy too. Jimmy won a title as a player. He won a national title as a head coach at Miami. And of course, he won those Super Bowls when he was with the Cowboys. It didn't matter what level it was. It was all about structure and the way they went about their business. That's what made it so great to play. When you're in an organization, it didn't matter if it was Miami or Dallas. They did the same things. It was one of the greatest times in my life being around winning. I had never seen anything like it. When you're in an environment like that, it must be like that when those guys were with Saban at Alabama. When you're in an environment like that, like you got the Kern Eagles, I mean, like I said, with Jordan Davis or with Jalen Carter, these guys don't know losing. I mean, they're not used to losing. You don't recruit people who are used to losing. All right, speaking of that, I think we're getting Jimmy Johnson tomorrow. So, guys, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. So, again, please hit that like button. Do me a favor. Hit that bad puppy so we can get to 200. I appreciate you guys. Big Z, Big Joe, thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow. We'll see you on the flip side.